Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to El Pocho Hour Live. I'm your host, Noah OG del Rancho. Today we got some very good pochos in the house, as usual. How's everybody doing? Can you guys hear me?
One at a time.
I'll go on ahead. Go on.
Yo, Fonz, you go.
All right. Well, what's up, man? What's going on? What's good?
I don't know what you guys are being very, very formal. No need to be formal on the lives, bro. It's open smoke. What's up with the crowd? Let me make sure that just want to make sure that the crowd can hear us. Let me see here. Why are these guys talking about Brazil?
No sé, güey. I see everyone saying come to Brazil. We might have missed a meme.
Yeah. Okay. Let's start off how we do with a quick prayer, and then we'll dig into it. Okay. The Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. O Lord Jesus Christ, only begotten Son of thine unoriginate Father, thou hast said with thy most pure lips, for without me ye can do nothing. My Lord, O Lord, in faith having embraced thy words, I fall down before thy goodness. Help me, a sinner, to complete through thee thy selfless work, which I'm about to do. Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Amen.
So there's a couple things that we want to cover today. I guess today we're kind of taking more of a freer format. This might actually kind of grow into more of a regular spin-off where we'll do kind of a weekly, I don't know, kind of like a recap or kind of a weekly current events type of show, and we'll kind of go through the things that are happening in that week. So some of the things that we want to cover today is another issue with this time is a raspadera, a Mexican woman who was selling raspados in Sacramento that was harassed and by, of course, our exemplary Black gringo friends, as usual. And then there's like the shitstorm going on in Latin America with the feminists. Those damn feminists are burning up churches or tagging up churches in Mexico, Chile, and Colombia. It seems like they're the chief countries, as usual, which I think is extremely, extremely relevant to everything we cover on here, because you're basically seeing the culture war at hand. And then we also have a guest today. We have Kem. What's up, Kem?
Oh my God! Glad to be back, guys. I'm glad to be part of this program. Congrats on your channel growing. I like I said before, I told everybody between the two knuckleheads over there on the other side right now, I said out of the three, you probably will grow further than everyone else. You seem more neutral in all these settings. But congrats on the success of your show, man. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, no, thanks, man. Yeah, this has just been kind of a passion project that's just been taking a life of its own. We get more and more great people coming along here and helping us. So, we're excited. We're definitely excited to be able to contribute to the conversation in ways that the Hispanic conversation just hasn't been able to express itself in the United States. It definitely has in Latin America and in Spain, but here it's been a little bit lacking. So, we like to kind of bring that authentic Hispanic perspective to the Pochos here.
Hey, what's up, Carlos Menem? What's up, yo?
Hey, ¿qué pasó, boludo?
Yo, so
by the way, Carlos Menem died like 2 weeks ago.
He did?
Yeah, pretty much.
He did, really?
Yeah, he died. He's a Pinterest. I don't know if that's a word in English, but he's a figura pintoresca, to be honest. So
give us the quick minute and a half on Carlos Menem and why he's relevant.
He was the president of Argentina. He was one of the presidents of Argentina after the periods of the dictatorships that Argentina had to endure with people like Videla and so on. And he had this sort of he was pretty much like a weird Peronist. At the same time, he makes Peronism with neoliberalism, and but it was actually a time of prosperity for Argentina in economical terms.
When was this? Early 90s?
Yeah,
Got it.
and the beginning of the and just right before the Kirchner, right? The dynasty of the Kirchners.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So no, I don't have. I mean, he's pretty much a non-ideological guy, to be honest. Like all of those type of people of you know. But he was raised in a Muslim family. He had to convert to Catholicism to be the president of Argentina.
Oh, what? He's what, Lebanese or Syrian or something?
Syrian. But he had to convert to Catholicism to be the president of Argentina.
Based.
Yeah, I find that law interesting. That's an interesting thing about Hispanic liberals' constitutions. They were relatively Catholic in that aspect, and that comes from the Constitution de Cádiz, pretty much. But yeah, that was the whole his history.
Well, thank you for that. So yeah, that's kind of interesting to mix Peronism and neoliberalism. So he was kind of like a nothing president. He didn't really.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll definitely have to do an episode on Argentina. Of course, we'll probably be doing an episode on every single country. And his spam, sometimes they might take 2 or 3 episodes, depending on the size of the country. But anyways, why don't we go ahead and dig in a bit here? I know that everyone's kind of a little bit heated about what happened in Sacramento. So it seems that from what we know, there was from what we kind of assume is a Mexican woman. She's very indigenous, which is, I think it's important to note that every time these attacks happen, it's always the most indigenous Hispanics that get attacked. It's not the mestizos or the lighter ones. It's not the big guys. It's always the little inditos, for lack of a better word. And they seem to be preying on these people because they know that these people don't have much I guess resources. They're not going to go to the cops. They're probably illegal, so they just don't want any trouble. They deal in cash, of course, so they're just very, very obvious targets in the hood. So I do want to point that, because usually when you hear this whole bullshit of the black brown unity, it comes from these kind of Latinxers, or usually girls who are also very anti-Hispanic, even though they're Hispanic themselves. They're very pro-indigenism, yet we're seeing indigenous people be attacked by Black Americans constantly, and we never hear that being brought up. All we ever hear from Hispanics in the mainstream essentially is we need more black brown unity, when blacks are clearly attacking our street vendors. So it seems that a little black girl who's like 12 years old or something was like harassing and kind of stole something from the cart, or was like touching things that she shouldn't be. And I guess what the vendor's natural reaction was to kind of push her, like put her hand on her and kind of push her away from her property, from her cart. And you can't do that. So then I guess the girl got her parents involved, her family involved. They rolled up in a car and they start like harassing this woman, and they flip her car over, and they kind of do this all a shit show. Then what's worse is that a rapper from the Bay Area, a Mexican rapper from the Bay Area, and we got to talk about Bay Area Mexicans. Hopefully some of you guys come onto the stream today. But this Bay Area Mexican rapper is really quick to like my black brown unity, and like try to do a PR stunt of like trying to get both sides to apologize to each other. But it really seemed like he just made it seem like the street vendor was apologizing to the Black Gringos. And then he basically got canceled by Hispanic Instagram, and he ended up erasing his little PR stunt. So it's just interesting. So why don't actually, there was some stuff that I did want to cover. But you know what? No, let me dive right into the video, and then we'll come back to that. So let me just share this with you guys in case you haven't seen it.
Going viral of a local street vendor getting attacked and harassed by customers. Her food cart even kicked over. Tonight, she is sharing her story.
CBS 13's Renee Santos is live with the interview you'll see only on CBS 13. Renee.
Yeah, that woman says that this is her only job, and now she fears if she'll ever be able to sell in that neighborhood again where she was harassed, fearing for her safety. We are not showing this woman's face out of concern for her own safety. Through an interpreter, Edith Morales says she was attacked and harassed while just doing her job, selling snacks in this neighborhood near Franklin and 12th.
Even though they were being filmed, they didn't care and they still kept harassing me.
Part of the attack captured in this cell phone video. We're also blurring neighbors for their safety, saying they've been getting threats since the video has gone viral. It shows a group of people yelling at Edith, one even helping themselves to a cup of juice. Then another kicks the cart over. Edith says the group began harassing her, claiming they were short an item that she says wasn't paid for.
And they started taking everything from my basket of my cart.
She isn't the only street food vendor who has been attacked. Just last month, a taco truck owner was shot in Modesto. And in December, a street corn vendor in Linda was also shot.
In general, the people who are in this business selling out are usually targeted and they are attacked often.
Edith says she just wants to continue working and feel protected, not having to worry about someone harassing her again.
I just want security. I just want to feel safe and to continue working because this is what I do.
Police did respond to that incident that remains under investigation. They say that theft charges could be filed.
Yeah, so I'm trying to pull up a better video, but in the meantime, let me just kind of kick it back to the panel here.
Can I say something, Biz?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, this is the same thing that I saw from your what was that noise over there? This is the same thing I saw from the last stream you did. Which I kind of want to put touches also correlates to what this video is being said as well. Let me tell you something about all this quote unquote black and brown unity, this whole talk that we're seeing here, and also Mr. Unity over there, you know, the house of Nelly Fuller that was built. Let me explain to people what's going on. This whole thing, it's really just a really massive charade what's going on. This whole black and land unity stuff. If it really was a black and land unity, why is it that when we have a quote unquote dialogue, why is it I've seen this before, even in person when I'm in my area? Why is it that it's always unfortunately it's mostly African Americans, mostly males, controlling the dialogue, saying that we have to do this, we gotta do that, and this and that. It's never like, you know, listening to both sides. You know, like people say, well, you gotta listen to both sides around the show, but apparently they're not doing that. So they know this is going on, okay? And I'm not saying not everyone, because there's some African Americans that have addressed these issues, and that's good for them. But at the same time, when you look at something like that, and they know this is going on, they know this is how this misbehaving is going on. They know there's this also affects businesses, etc., etc. They don't realize that this whole unity thing, to me personally, is just a charade. They just don't. And I'm sorry to say this, but if they really was a quote unquote unity, don't you think it's really proper to go in the way of saying, okay, we got problems, you got problems, let's fix it each other. Then we can kind of compromise, not unity per se, but compromise in let's say in a financials kind of like, you know, business like negotiation. But that's not the case. We're getting guilt shamed, racist, prejudice, you know, the whole talking point of white supremacy, the system, and all this other stuff. And it does not, it just starts going away from the original thing of, listen, some of the kids from your community are causing problems. Just like, for example, we have issues with our community, kids causing your problem. What's the solution towards that? You can't sit there and blame it's the white man. It's ridiculous. What you saw right there is the fact that you got a grown adult with another young grown adult causing havoc. And that's what's happening. It's not, you know, and every time when we get in this type of discussion, look what's going on right now with the Asians. Asians try to have a dialogue and all that stuff, and right now they're already saying that well, you own these stores and you treat us like this and that, and it's kind of like, I think the biggest problem is that there's no accountability whatsoever. And I think that's a really, really big problem, because whenever they talk about this whole Black and Land unity, and don't get me wrong, I'm all for, working together and all that stuff. I'm all for that stuff. No problem whatsoever. But when they start preaching that mantra, I want people to understand something. Notice after they start saying that, notice how they go to the podiums and they start controlling the entire conversation.
Cam, I totally understand and sympathize with what you're saying completely. I was actually, and I just, for everyone listening, you may not know who I am. My name is Billy Escobar Vasquez here, and I'm Colombian. But I was actually, going over this news, and I kind of wrote down a little bit. I kind of wanted to share a sort of like disclaimer for the audience that I think is necessary, because emotions are going to run really high with this show. I can just tell with the audience and, with the topic matter. So I'm going to kind of say my thoughts here, and then I think you guys should kind of build on that. And I think we're really going to be able to go to really important places. So I want to use this monologue as a way to create a disclaimer for the audience, because in short, we will be responding to the recent news in which a group of essentially Black gringos preyed on a Mexican entrepreneur in Sacramento. They caused her physical harm. And this all happened because she decided to defend her hard-earned business from a bunch of ruthless thugs who were just trying to steal from her and basically cause all this damage to her, her property. And what's troubling to us is the fact that right after this horrible attack on our people occurred, all these people in the Mexican community who had clout immediately went on social media to do damage control, to double and triple down on the Black and brown unity, as you were talking about before, despite the fact that it's always entirely one-sided. We're tired of seeing the most vulnerable members of our community being targeted by Black gringo bullies, only to have members of the Hispanic community come out and excuse this vile behavior. Would these same Mexicans be pushing for Hispano and white American unity if a white redneck on meth harmed this exact same Mexican worker? We all know the answer would be no. And we as Hispanos must recognize that Black gringos are not any more special and virtuous than the white gringos. We must also make sure that clowns who try to make excuses for outsiders harming our most vulnerable members of society get publicly shamed for their traitorous behavior. Also, we must make it clear that our criticisms of Black gringos tonight will have nothing to do with biological determinism or genetics. We understand the plight that Black Americans have dealt with for 500 years, and it truly was an injustice. However, this does not mean we're going to be walking doormats and allow them to behave like bullies to our people who can't defend themselves. This is a cultural issue, and there's a reason why Black Colombians and why African immigrants to the U.S. do not behave in this sort of manner. What I say to the Black gringos is this, is that I understand what you went through. But if you want to be saved, you need to find God, you need to find Catholicism, and you need to start bettering your life. Until then, you're just going to be continuing a horrible lifestyle for your people, and it's always just going to get worse. And yeah, thank you for tolerating the monologue, but I really needed to get it off my chest.
Billy, that was a wonderful monologue. That was great. Everything was on point, and I've got nothing to add to that. But I would like to add to Kem's part about the Asian thing. This is how you know we're living in peak clown world. Now, if you guys don't know what happened with the Asian thing, there were a lot of Asian elderly people being assaulted by Black Americans in the West Coast. I think it was more specifically in the Bay Area, if I'm not mistaken. And predictably and kind of clown worldly, I would say, who was blamed for this? Were Black American men blamed for this? No. Were Asians blamed for this? Well, not really. The blame obviously lies with white supremacy and white people, because everything is white people's fault and nothing is ever Black people's fault. This is the clown world that we live in that is promoted by jam culture, and so any issues that the African American community has, and there are many, can never be blamed on the African American community itself. Now, I guess Billy and I could disagree with the whole 500 years thing. I think there should be a bit more of personal responsibility placed in the African American community. I would defer to figures like Jesse Lee Peterson in that regard. But it's time we it's time Black Americans become accountable for their actions, both individually and communally. And unfortunately, in the post George Floyd era, that is going to be very difficult. And in an era where America is becoming more racially diverse, or more specifically, more racially and ethnically Hispanized, we're going to have to deal with the fact that we are going to be the next quote unquote white people. So when white Americans become a minority, I am almost certain that almost every single of America's racial and ethnic tensions is going to be blamed on us, because many of us are actually 50% European, as a matter of fact. So we're going to be the next target of this sort of racial and ethnic deconstruction that white Americans have faced for a long time. And this is kind of materializing, as you see, with the attack on Paleteros, on the lady that we just saw there. And as a matter of fact, on innocent bystanders, I wish we could show a video that I sent you guys about this woman, a Colombian woman in Miami, who was violently assaulted by a Black man for no reason whatsoever. So very concerned with what's happening to our community.
Yeah, I remember that that video. Yeah, no, there's definitely an issue. I think the way that I would describe Black Americans, dude, it's like they're the crack baby, and they got adopted by this like elderly white couple who suffers from like white guilt in the suburbs, and like they don't know how to control this like very aggressive, rambunctious teenager who like lashes out at any hand that feeds him. And the problem is that Black Americans are used to thinking that the whole world is this old white couple. And when they bump into Hispanics, they realize like, we don't give a fuck. Like, sure, you have some historical grievances. Sure, they're some of them are very legitimate. You know, we get it. But everyone has a sob story, and we frankly don't give a fuck. We have our own sob story. We're not crying about it. We're trying to overcome. You know what I mean? So I think that's the big clash, where they expect to be written off for their behavior. Somehow their behavior is excused because of slavery or Jim Crow or whatever the hell you know, they use to justify their antisocial behavior. You know, so. Yeah, this is happening a lot. With the case of the Colombian lady I wanted to touch on, was this dude was clearly like a psychopath. I guess he was hitting people before and after he hopped onto the train. But I will say this, and I said it from the very beginning. I'm sorry this pisses people off because I'm not just jumping on the bandwagon, but I hold the girl just as responsible, because it's 10 o'clock at night. You're on public transportation. What are you doing with your fucking head lost into your phone like a fucking idiot? You wouldn't do that shit in Colombia. So why? First off, you're a young, attractive woman. It's 10 o'clock at night and you're on public transportation. Like, why aren't you taking inventory of your surroundings? Like, the girl was way up in her fucking phone, didn't even realize this guy was standing over her until he started hitting her. So it's like, you know, in that type of scenario, like, I blame her dad too. You know what I'm saying? Like, what the fuck is this girl doing in Miami at 10 o'clock at night on public transportation? You know, I mean, like, shit's gonna happen when you're exposed. You know, I'm not justifying this guy's behavior. Obviously, if I had seen it, you know, we would have popped off into something else. But the point is that what I'm saying still stands, right? That a young, attractive woman shouldn't be in public transportation by herself at 10 o'clock at night. And if she has to, by circumstances of life, she shouldn't be lost up in her fucking phone. She should be trucha. You know what I'm saying?
Wow, Noel, did you really just say that on International Women's Month? Like, how dare you? Like, okay, but for real, I think, well, that is definitely a very valid point. But for any FBI agents watching this, obviously I disagree with what Noel is saying. But I think it's not just that, but it's also this kind of de-arming or because the thing is that nowadays you're not allowed to feel uneasy around certain people, because that's seen as racist, as a microaggression. In other words, stop noticing things. Stop noticing who is more violent than others, right? So while I can certainly agree with your assertion that this girl is probably too distracted late at night in a city that's not 100% safe. You know, Miami is not Vermont. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, Miami's a dangerous city.
Yes, exactly. So, but it's also the fact that if you're wary of certain people, well, now you're going to get canceled. So it's kind of like a catch-22. Again, this may not be relevant to the girl in question, the Colombian girl in Miami, but if you're completely aloof with certain individuals near you, well, you have the chance of being robbed, killed, assaulted, raped. And if you are cautious, well, they're going to record you and they're going to call you racist and they're going to make up a whole bunch of things about you. So there really is no winning nowadays in this post-George Floyd society. You're not allowed to be scared of black men, essentially.
I was going to say, just to add to that real quick, Klaus, we also had a direct, example before even George Floyd with George Zimmerman. You know, he was attacked by someone in his own neighborhood. He defended himself in a way that was clearly demonstrated that he was completely in the right, and they ruined this man's life. And it didn't matter that, he was a Mexican. They ruined his life, and they made it to where he even had to, later on, while he's minding his own business in Florida, they incited hatred against him so much that he got shot 10 times. Luckily, he survived, but this is the sort of stuff they want to normalize, a situation where we're just helpless victims against these people, or we're just going to get railroaded and thrown in prison, for defending ourselves. And it's ridiculous.
May I add something here? May I add something? Yeah. Okay, listen, let me explain stuff. I don't know if you guys read into any of the books of any Afrocentrism or pro-black narratives, because I have. I actually been to their meetings before up in Philadelphia and New York City. So I got, like, in my mind, I'm thinking there's certain things that they're actually saying in their meetings, the little meetings they'll have, this whole, we're all black and everything. And this is something that I really catched on. If you start really studying of their pathology and where it all correlates to what we're seeing now. This whole perspective of victimhood and all that stuff, this is being preached by a lot of those guys in that, in a lot of these pro-black centers and these Afrocentric kind of viewpoints. They're the ones kind of talking about, you're a victim, it's a system and everything. Everyone's fault, and we owe everything to you and all that stuff. And it's like I said, it's not even just even the Asians or Hispanic people. I've seen them on panels and channels going after even African immigrants. And it's just the quasi mentality.
Wow.
And this is something that I don't understand. It's like they're blaming everything. It's like they want to blame something on anything but themselves. And this is mostly coming predominantly from the males from that particular group of communities. And unfortunately, what's happening is that I talked to people who were part of those groups. These are ex-members that are part of that pro-black, HOTEP, whatever. And they actually came onto my channel off of YouTube. And they told me how those things, I said, Kim, was a waste of time in my life following that crap. I said that it was a waste of time. I said, this thing does not even help our community. It actually damages our community. Period. And those people are the types of people that are trying to force upon this ideology, which what you call jam culture, whatever that's one of it. It's the same thing with the the white nationalists trying to force upon their narrative onto a lot of these Hispanic, Latin American groups. It's the same talking points, the same playbooks. And if you look at people like Jared Taylor, there's an opposite end to that. There's the Nelly Foley Juniors of the world, the Dr. Look into those types of people and read into what they're saying. It mimics exactly how these guys talk on these channels, on these panels and everything. And the reality of it is that since a lot of, I don't know if none of you probably never read any of their writings or in their books, but if you really look into all what I just said right now, you look into what I just said, you'll see where it starts to connect the dots. Because what I'm thinking what's going on is that they're so conditioned that they don't realize what's going on. Do you even realize that there's even people on my live stream, on my channel, who are, they'll tell you, Kim, whatever you do not let this happen to your community. And these are women. These are African American women who are voicing this. You know that the whole thing with George Floyd. You know who the number one people that sat there said these protests are not beneficial, these riots are bad. Defunding the police is a horrible idea. You know what the very first group of people that said no to that? It was actually the women of their community, the African American women. They were the ones who were the first ones to voice it out. They're the ones because they knew something was wrong. If you notice with that girl, she was with that guy. Do you think she'll do that if she was by herself? Absolutely not. But she was with that man. So in the hindsight, if you know that girl's acting like this, why isn't that guy not the big chubby, tall dude? Why is that guy not intervening what's going on? That's the point that I'm trying to make. It's because that community has allowed itself to be infiltrated by a lot of these little hoteps, pro-black, Afrocentric. It got into their mentality of victimhood, and you see it, and it's not beneficial. You talk to anyone that used to be part of those groups, they'll tell you straight up that it's harmful, especially the kids who grew up in that kind of environment. They'll tell you how harmful that is. And I talked to people on my stream who used to live in those types of areas who are African Americans themselves, some of them even guys, and they came to me and told me how it was not beneficial at all. So yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, I've seen a lot of this with the white nationalist community myself, and it completely mirrors the black nationalist community in so many ways. And the most hilarious part is both of them refuse to absolutely acknowledge any of it, but it's very obvious from an apparent outsider perspective. They have this mentality that, there is this victimhood oppression Olympics, and if you can prove that, you're the biggest victim, somehow you're going to magically come to political power and take over the country. It's a very juvenile form of just conducting yourself politically, and it's something that I really, really hope Hispanos avoid and do not go down that route.
Well, I think they're definitely trying to lure us. I think the Latinxers, the left wing of the two-headed dragon that's kind of trying to destroy Hispanic culture and civilization and unity, they definitely do have that value system of victimology. We should side with the blacks because we're also victims, even though I may have green eyes and burnt brown hair. I identify as a Mayan, and the Mayans were an oppressed people, so therefore we're also kind of black and we should side with them, and I piss people off from that side of the spectrum because I push the black gringos away. I call black gringos what they are. They're gringos. And then I have to deal with the kind of the pick me side of the spectrum who, wants to, I see it blacks are problematic in the United States, and Hispanics in 2020 kind of showed themselves as kind of like a cleanup crew. Go figure, we're the cleanup crew and every other situation in this country. But I kind of try to pull the leash back on some Hispanics by not letting them play into the hands, because it's oh, okay, now the white guys want to be cool with us because they're too chicken shit to deal with their own Negro problem. And so we're going to come in and save the day. We're going to be the fucking cleanup crew for what? So that they can give us a white card? Do we really want to be white? Do we really want to come down with their problems? Or do we want to be what we are, which is Hispanic?
Exactly. Yeah, in regards to that, Rancho, I think the main problem here is that is the ideology that they try to use to try to rationalize the fact that some black individuals in ghettos harass Mexican people or Hispanic people. So the ideology to justify that is so hypocritical, and there is a double standard. But I think it is also important to highlight what you just said, that that anti-blackness has been this historically. The anti-blackness has been the way that immigrants groups have to integrate within white American society. You know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah.
So we need to be very careful. Let us
one at a time, you guys.
We need to be very careful in regards to the question of anti-blackness, because whites are going to instrumentalize anti-blackness to say, hey, Latinos, look at these black people. They're doing this and this.
More based Hispanic. And this is funny, dude, because this reminds me of fucking Nick Fuentes in 2019. And I got to do a video on this thing, man. In 2019, he was talking about the fucking Mexicans are coming here and they're going to bring their Mexican problems. And pretty soon, this is going to look like Mexico. And then 2020 came around and it was the fucking Mexican cities who had no beef, right? Any city that was on fire was overwhelmingly a white city. We're talking Portland, Seattle, cities in Milwaukee and those type of cities where there's like no Hispanics that live there. Yet you went to LA, San Diego, Arizona, New Mexico, Texas, Florida,
Chicago,
even South Chicago, with the Mexican neighborhoods in Chicago. This shit didn't happen. And then all of a sudden, it's based Mexicans. All of a sudden, it's they're technically, like 50% white.
Bro, that really happened though.
Yeah, it is important to notice that there are like some white supremacist tendencies that are. I don't want to say Hispanophile because they're not Hispanophile. They want to assimilate white Hispanics that they call castizos. And then you have people like, I don't quite remember his name. He graduated from, I think he's a white supremacist or white nationalist.
Who are you thinking of?
He graduated from Berkeley. He's an old guy. He graduated from Berkeley and from Harvard, I think, or something like that. Or Stanford, I don't remember. But he had like this huge blog of white Wignat stuff, and he talks about being open to Hispanics because they look at them, they're destroying their own statues, they're not burning any cities, and the cities that are burning are like the whites one, while the Hispanics are destroying their own statues, which means that they're in some sense rejecting their Hispanic legacy, which is a good thing for us, right? Because it's going to invite for assimilation.
Are you talking about Nathan D'Amigo?
I'll search it up. I'll look. Right.
I was going to say white nationalists currently have the strategy now where they're actually nowadays they're actually being more open to recruiting mestizos and castizo kind of sorts of people that are willing to repeat the sort of stuff that they say. But here's the thing that's really cucked about it. If you're, one of these Hispanic people that belongs to this sort of community in which they've accepted you, I mean, yeah, they'll use you in order for you, just to throw a brown guy out there to repeat all your talking points. But at the end of the day, they don't want you anywhere near their daughters. Like,
Andy,
let's just be real here.
Like fucking Andy. That's why I'm so against like people fucking like feeling guilty about shit that they shouldn't feel guilty for. Because I think that a lot of Hispanics, especially like liberal type Hispanics, they see how like all these like movements like BLM are like taking off, and they're reaping in like billions of dollars worth in funding, worth of donations, and I think that's why they think that the victim narrative actually works. But they don't see that pushing the victim narrative in a completely different ethnic group, pushing the same black victim narrative that Black Americans push is not going to work for us. It's actually like and that's not who we are. Hispanics,
it wouldn't make any sense.
Yeah, we're not the type of people to be like, oh, I'm a victim. No, we're the type of people like, oh, I'm an immigrant. I have to work harder. I have to prove myself. I have to like make these like American women fall in love with me and all that type of thing, bro.
Well, you can whine about double standards all day, but we need to have this mentality of like nothing good in life is easy. Life is a constant struggle, and you can whine about double standards, but like you got to ultimately take the reins of your own life.
Yeah,
let's let compadre talk. Can we let compadre talk? Even want to talk further.
Let me just respond real quick, and I'm gonna loop compadre in. That's the natural view that Hispanics have. Like, nosotros no somos llorones, like.
Exactly. Chillones, no somos chillones.
El hombre macho no llora. Since we're little kids, we're being told this. Boys don't cry. This is how we're raised. This is how our culture is. There's evil in the world. There's injustices in the world, but it's not enough to make me bitter, right? It's just an opportunity for me to overcome. I'm going to suck it up. I'm going to take it like a man, and I'm going to come back and give you a round two as soon as I get the chance. That's the Hispanic spirit. So it's telling that the people who want to bring in this victimology are people who reject our Hispanic identity, our Hispanic root, people who have daddy issues. And again, I always frame our Spanish ancestry as the paternal root in the three roots that I present. So it's part and parcel of anti-paternalism, anti-Catholicism. It's against the church. It's against concepts of religion. It's against concepts of right or wrong, right? Everything's relative to these people except Black victimology. Of course, that's the only absolute in the world.
But if they keep seeing that Blacks keep like getting like billions of dollars, they're gonna think that it works. If they see that Blacks keep like pushing this victim, they're gonna think, oh, that's how we achieve what we want. When in reality,
it doesn't. It doesn't. At the end of the day.
But I think it's important to highlight that although this like constant victimization and victimology, as you put it, Rancho, is completely rational, I think we need to emphasize that the problem that I have with the ideas that you guys are promoting is that although I don't think that that's what you promote, some people might interpret that as this sort of like individualistic tendency of of like this like self-made American myth, right? You know what I mean?
Yes.
Which yeah, it only invites for individual action, right? It can like degenerate into a individualistic narrative. That's what I'm scared of.
No, we can't let that happen. That's
Compadre, did you talk?
Yeah, let me loop, compadre. How you doing?
Hi, what's up?
Are you news?
Compadre.
Are you the guy who was in the chat as news?
Yeah.
Okay, welcome, man. Where are you from?
Okay, so look, so this is what I want to
real
talk
quick.
about. So
hold on, real quick. What part of the country did you grow up in? So we kind of get an idea.
See, I don't want to expose that.
We don't got to be specific. I mean,
on the west.
Are you Bay Area or SoCal?
South.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, so
we need your address.
I'm trying to get some Bay Area.
Social security number.
Yeah,
because I want to get some
glowing, bro. You're glowing, compadre.
Hey, what up, Monkey, you remember me from the chat? Monkey. All right. Well, anyways, I'm gonna start. So basically,
Go ahead.
with this Black and brown unity thing, as men, we gotta be against it and not be with it. I'm gonna say why, because it's like they want us to submit to them. And another thing that's not gonna solve anything, because every time a vendor or an elder gets attacked, guess what happens? They try to blame us. They try to call us racist when all we're doing is defending our elders, which is what we're supposed to do as men. We have an obligation to do that. And if it was really unity, if this is how unity should work. If an elder gets attacked, the Blacks should come in and hold the bad guys of their community accountable. But instead, they want to play the victim. That's not unity.
Yeah.
You just want to use me to submit to you, and you want to disrespect me as a man. First off, we don't bow down to another man. We only bow down to God Himself, nothing else. So, and another thing is, I don't like how they try to like, because I have a lot of Black friends, and they always try to like make me think like them. And I tell them, no, I think like a Hispanic should. Like, this is me naturally. Stop trying to tell me how I should or shouldn't think, because you're not me and I'm not you. And they don't get that. They start crying, and then there's a thing like we need to stand strong for each other and for ourselves, because no one else is going to do that for us. I like this community that you guys are building, and I think that we're doing the right thing here, and we got to stand firm and not allow anybody to try to like infiltrate us and try to like tell us how we should feel or think. Because, for example, like Monkey said, first of all, we're not victim mentality people. If we have a problem, we have to overcome that problem, and that's it. We're not going to sit here and put the blame on anybody else, because
we're not going to make excuses.
Exactly. And then another thing I want to say too is like, I grew up in the hood, right? Some people who did the right thing ended up in good universities. The ones who didn't ended up in jail. And then the ones who kind of were mediocre ended up in somewhat good schools. But the point is, it was up to us. Like, we all came from the same classroom, but depending on what we did is what led us to the life we live. But instead, we got people over here talking about, oh, it's a white man's fault, it's the government's fault. No, it's not. It's not. It's not. And I grew up seeing this. I grew up seeing this since elementary school, middle school, and high school. And then now all of a sudden, now that I'm 22, it's the government's fault. And then you're like messing with my intelligence because that's not what I saw. I saw what I saw.
Yeah.
And you can't deny that. You can't deny the fact that I don't care if you grew up in the hood, you can still be somebody in life. And but if you're gonna sit here and blame white people for it, you're not gonna be anything. White people don't care about you. Like white people, they wake up, walk their dogs. Like I don't think they wake up and say, "Oh, I'm gonna go oppress the Mexicans." And another thing, now this is what I really wanted to say. I don't want black and brown unity. I just want black people to leave me alone. I want respect. If we do come across each other, if you're gonna talk to me with some respect, and that's it. Everywhere you go, you see a black person always saying stuff. No other group does this. I've seen black people literally shout at Hispanics talking about Trump 2020. We're gonna build the wall, get your immigrants out of here. But then they want to sit here and talk about how we have to unite against racism when they're the ones mainly racist towards us.
All right. About that unity thing, bro. I mean, blacks can't unite black Americans or African Americans, whatever term they want to use, because it's so funny. Like they do a lot of gaslighting. I see this on the internet. I've seen this in person.
Of course.
And if you say like black American, they'll say like, why are you focused on color? But a lot of them, if not a big majority of them, identify as black. So they're the ones focused on color. But then some of them, like conservative black Americans, they'll say like, oh, I'm not African American. I'm just American. Why are you calling me African? Whatever. So they get really tricky with the words. But I think that they can't unite with anyone until they unite amongst themselves. The same thing goes for us as Hispanics.
Perfect. And another thing too is like the Hispanic community, we have our own problems that we have to deal with amongst each other. We don't need more on top of the ones that we already have.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and anti-blackness, I don't think it's a problem in the Hispanic community. I don't think we're anti-black. I think we're anti-black gringo. I think we're anti-race.
The mentality, bro. The mentality. The problem is
anti.
The bottom line is
stop attacking our elders, stop attacking our vendors, and stop trying to tell me how I think. Because this is the issue. Look, if you have a conversation with a black, see, look, I can speak to you guys as Hispanics, and you guys understand me. But if I were to have this conversation with a black guy, he's gonna start crying and playing the victim, talking about I'm just like the white man. We are not white. The white man and the Hispanic man are two completely different people. We're not the same thing.
If we were racist against black people just because genetically, they tend to be, I guess, sub-Saharan African, we wouldn't be doing things like acknowledging the fact that, like, for example, when Nigerians come to the U.S., they're by far one of the most successful groups just out of all of them that come here. It's showing that it's the culture. It is not that we look at their genes and think that there's something wrong with them.
Exactly, and it's not your skin color.
I think that if African Americans or Black Americans really cared about Hispanics that have African heritage or whatever whatever term you want to use, like Afro Latinos or Afro Hispanos, if they really cared about those people, they would be addressing the anti-Hispanicness inside their communities, because the statistics clearly show that they attack Hispanics more than Hispanics attack them. And we're seeing the Asian communities getting terrorized all over San Francisco, and the Asians are speaking up about it. But it's funny because I saw this video where I guess the Asian community was saying that they were going to unite against
white nationalism.
White nationalism, yeah. But I follow
white nationalists love dating Asian girls. What are they even talking about?
Of our problems.
No, and then I follow this page, Asians with Attitude, and most of the attacks are being carried out by like young black guys, and these are the types of guys that glorify like rap music, trap music, gang banging, stealing, killing, murdering. And it's the same with the guys attacking the Paleteros. These guys are like gang bangers that go to prison or go to camp or to juvenile hall, and they come out with that racist, that institutional racism that goes on in prison, and then they spread that hate inside of the communities. You know, most of the attacks I've seen on street vendors were like gang banging types of guys. I've even looked at some of their profiles, and they have like, and it's pretty.
They're all gang members. They're all gang members. And let me tell you this.
Let Hodawalo talk.
Yeah, Hodawalo, you had a point, Doug?
Yeah. What's up?
No, Hodawalo. I'm waiting for Hodawalo. He's okay. He's
Can you guys hear me?
Oh, now we can. Go ahead, buddy.
Okay. Hey guys, how's it going? So yeah, I'm actually I mentioned last time I'm actually from Sacramento, and one thing I've noticed, at least with sort of because I'm 5th generation Mexican American, and it seems like out here, we're pretty far. Unfortunately, we're pretty far divorced from, Hispanicity in general. But it seems like out here, the divide seems to be going everywhere. And I wanted to ask, perhaps for everyone on the panel, whether or not if you're in like Southern California or wherever out through the United States, because what I've noticed is, at least with norteños out here, they either go, it's very rare to see them say, hey, we're Hispanics. You either it kind of seems like the divide is getting a lot worse. I don't know how it is with sureños.
No, you're right. You're right. The Bay Area Mexicans are like the New Yorkers. Like, they're extremely blackwashed. And
right. Hippies and shit.
They're kind of, or they're just kind of anti-Hispano. They're very, very, I would just call it blackwash. The New Yorkers and the Bay Area Mexicans are a lot alike. They're kind of like a mirror image of each other from coast to coast.
Right.
You do see it in SoCal a bit, but not like in the Bay Area. In the Bay Area, it seems like, the Bay Area is more like eclectic. You know what I'm saying? It's like kind of more of a different kind of culture up there. So I can understand. It has its pros, like that. I want to say that people from the Bay Area are more cultured, because they're interacting with more people and more different kinds of people. In Southern California, we kind of have our own enclaves, and it's very easy to just get stuck in them.
Right.
But the negative of that is that there's just this whole concept of like, blacks are like our cousins or brothers or something. And
right. Yeah, because it's pretty interesting. Even traveling throughout Sacramento, I've actually seen some cars. Yeah, like, I don't know if you guys are familiar with norteños and the bird that they use as kind of like the sign. The bird that's it's got like five levels of wings.
Oh, the Chicano, the Cesar Chavez thing, right?
Precisely, yeah. I've actually seen vehicles that say like Chicano's life matters, and it's not like, but I don't know how to interpret it, to be honest with you guys, because it's like, okay, are you saying like Chicano like we're Hispanics? Are you saying Chicano like I think the Cesar Chavez mentality, like we're the blacks of America? Do you guys understand what I mean?
We're the new blacks, neo blacks.
I've seen Chicanos cry. Like, I've seen them say things like, oh, like there was a time where like the Hispanics in Latin America, they didn't consider us Mexican or Hispanic, and the Americans didn't consider us American, and like that's why we're Chicanos. Like, dude, no one has to tell you what you are. You're like born Hispanic. You're not like if someone is gonna like. If someone's gonna tell like no one tells a white person like you're not white, and that doesn't hurt his feelings, or a black person like you're not black. Well, no one except Joe Biden before he got elected. But I've seen.
I think let me speak a little bit on the Chicano thing. I think the Chicano thing is like, it just shows more of that schizophrenia that we talk about in the show a lot. That ethnic schizophrenia, where it's like, I'm this, but I don't want to accept this. I only want to accept like this part of me, not this other part of me. I think there is some of this kind of historical grievances where like you know, we're kind of Mexican bastards that didn't care about us, or they kind of left us. I think it's very generational. But what I do see, I'm getting a little bit of feedback from somebody, so you guys got to mute. What I do see is the racialization. It's weird. It's like, how did we go from being Hispanic or being Mexican to being brown? You see, it's like they turn
Exactly.
into a color, and it's like, dog,
We're not a color. We're just Hispanic.
yeah, because I'm like three different colors in the year, and I got cousins who are darker. I got cousins who are way lighter. So it's like, we're not brown. I'm kind of olive, to be honest with you. Like, why are you reducing us to this?
We don't gotta be a color.
I believe the connector
They want
for
to push
that.
the
That's the problem
American
with guys.
racial division. They're trying to like push us into that too. You got blacks and you got whites, and you got Hispanics.
It's a box. It's a label. It's a label they want to put us into, and a label they want to use on us, or in a box they want to fit us into. That's what it is. Colorism.
And then they're not even asking us. It's like, how are you going to call us Latinx? Did you even ask us to call us Latinx? We don't want to be called that.
Let me ask you this, you know, if they're trying to push this brown unity, you know, how does someone like us, you know, who are Pocos, how do we relate to like a brown person from India, you know, who comes to America and makes over like $100K a year and like lives in like a super nice part of like, you know, California? Like, what is the brown similarity that we are experiencing here? Like, I really don't see any.
Right.
It's
The
not.
average Indian is Indian with a dot here, not a feather, is way browner than your average Hispanic.
Well, you know, look, let me put you more like more like this, and it's gonna be honest. You want to say this? Shout out to Base Loam over there. You know, the problem is with a lot of these guys. What's that noise in the background? The problem is with a lot of these guys, and it's mostly the mentality of victimhood and the coloring, the labelings, and all that stuff. I mean, even for me, the word Hispanic, Latino, I mean, I just say I'm Mexican, and that's about it. And then people might not believe me or not, but that's why I usually say it. It's simple that way. But that's not even the problem. The problem is when you come here into the United States, they have all these labels and terminology and everything. And then after that labeling part comes in the process, then it comes the whole skin tone conversation, and then the victimhood, and then you're a victim, and they force upon us liberal and somewhat conservative talking points to your head that has nothing to do with your background at all. You know, just how screwed up the liberals are, conservative right wingers are no different as well. And they'll switch it up on you and say this is part of your culture. When in reality, it's not. Like a lot of stuff they're preaching on TV, even when they're showing on Netflix and everything and on stuff, it's really nothing to do with our cultures back home in our countries. And not only that, unfortunately, a lot of the parents did not teach these kids the cultures from back home. So this is disconnect. So what's happening now is a lot of the intellectuals, they're coming in and they're filling these kids a bunch of nonsense in their heads and calling it, this is part of my culture.
Exactly.
And then that's what's happening now. No, then you magnify it by Hollywood, and then which is where LA is, they show what Mexico is, but they're not really showing you Mexico. They're showing their version of what it is, of what is Mexican. It's a washed down version. Same thing with the New Yorkers, the same thing with Dominican Americans, the same thing with all the rest of the Latin American groups or Hispanic American groups here in the United States. They're showing Americans the washed down version of our cultures. And what's happening after that, then you got the rest of the world thinking that we act a certain way. Because I talk to people outside the United States a lot. And when they sit there, they start telling me about, well, Mexicans are this, and they see it on a movie and all that stuff. I tell them, dude, that's American stuff. Like in Mexico, there's not really like that going on down there, especially in these. And that's the problem with Dominican Americans. There's a misperception of what is Dominican Americans, even with Dominicans, because there's a difference between Dominicans and Dominican Americans. The problem with Dominican Americans now is they show you NYC, Washington Heights. This is how it is. It's the hood and all that stuff. If they actually had the balls to go to Dominican Republic and show you actual parts of the country, same thing with Mexico. Stop with the border crap. Just show parts of Mexico, the quality, the nice parts, even the bad parts, but show all of it. Show all. They don't do that. They just don't. Everything is one-sided, and it goes with their narrative.
It's the narrative they control, man. If you control the narrative, then you can control what people think, man. And that's what Americans are really good at doing. And I think Hispanics have to take control of our own narrative. At least, I think every group should take control of their own narrative and stop letting like this like American system control the narrative of who they are. It's like
bingo. That's the problem right there. That is a big problem. I think that's the problem. A lot of white Americans are speaking about, our countries, a lot of African Americans, and they're on YouTube saying this stuff. If I've been on YouTube for quite a while, I'm telling you, if you actually listen to all these people's conversations and what they say about us and all that stuff, it's shocking. It's absolutely shocking.
Yeah,
and
so much material. Just that guy Tyreek. There's some guy Tyreek Nasheed or something.
Tariq Nasheed. Black Authority. If you go listen to Black Authority, man, go listen to all those guys. Go listen to all, even people like Jared Taylor. Go listen to what Jared Taylor went to Japan and told some random Japanese journalists about, oh no, we're white people, but it's actually it's actually Hispanic people and black people are just killing each other off, and that's the reason why. Which completely is a big joke, because here's another thing too I don't like. If you listen to this guy called the Black Authority, he's going around saying that the people who are crossing the border are aligned with white supremacy, and they're all trying to somehow create a genocide towards them. It's the same thing with the white Americans. They are also using the same playbook, that they're coming in. We're gonna come and create genocide. We're out to kill them. We're out to rape their daughters and all this other stuff. And it's paranoia feeds off these people, which is why a lot of you see a lot of reaction towards white and black Americans, which is why OG saying the following. Look, there's something going on between the white Americans and the black Americans. The best option is to opt out, get all these people. If you're, let's say, what you call Afro Latinos or the white Latino looking people, get them all out of these groups and say, look, you have a community, you have a cultures, you have a background, you have a legacy. These two groups are completely lost. Both of them are completely lost.
Yes.
It's a projection, bro. If you look at what African immigrants are doing in Europe, the African what are they called, grooming gangs are doing in Europe, in Sweden, France, that's what
that's Pakistanis, bro. Pakistanis.
You're thinking of the UK and Pakistanis.
Pakistanis. Those are the ones that are doing that.
I mean, I think in the U.S., I mean, like, what ethnic group rapes the most? Like, how? That's a projection that most immigrants don't really rape. Maybe a few, but
one point. Yeah, one point that I actually wanted to make here that I did bring up earlier, but I wanted to expand was, notice these attacks on the street vendors are always indigenous people, right? They're Hispanicized Indians, but they're Indians. They're not attacking the mestizos or the lighter ones. They're attacking the most poorest, working class, peasant class people. And something that somebody brought up was that they attack them partly also because they don't want their women, right? They want the mestizas, they want the mulatas, they want las blanquitas. They don't care about las inditas. So it's just something. It's something to point out.
Let me add to that. Let me add to that. That should totally debunk the whole "we was Olmecs" type of shit. Unless you want to tell me that this is actually, unless you want to tell me that this is actually a new form of black on black violence. But anyways,
we need to be
the thing is that you have like all these radical feminists all over Latin America that support BLM, that are believe this victim narrative that black Americans are pushing, but they don't ever talk about the street vendors getting fucking fucked over by racist young black men, dude. And the Asian community is seeing it. The Asians they're gonna keep attacking the elders. They're gonna keep attacking the street vendors because they saw that it bothers us. And they're America's blameless children. And fucking white people, dude, that say that black people can be racist. Any stupid white liberal that never grew up in a place where there's animosity and tension between minority groups shouldn't be talking about how black people can be racist, because that's what empowers these people to be like, oh, I have an excuse to be racist. and I can get away with it.
Well,
this is part of.
Wait, let me interject here. Does anyone here work in manual labor here? Any one of you guys? Because I'll tell you my experience about me working with these types of people.
I do.
Okay, obviously, okay. Because I do construction and all that stuff and hardscaping, so I'm literally in the field where you see a lot of people that are migrant workers, illegals, etc., very poor people, that kind of thing. So a lot of my workers, I got several workers that have those descriptions. Okay, I'm just telling from my personal experience. They have been robbed several times on metro stops, and these people, unfortunately, are African American males. Now, why do they target these people? It's because number one, a lot of these guys, I'm gonna be perfect. They're not really well educated. A lot of these didn't finish grade school or 8th grade, stuff like
You're not
that.
gonna call the cops.
Yeah, well, what's going to happen was, they're not going to call the cops because, they have no paperwork, and a lot of them don't go to the bank. So they carry a lot of cash. Okay, and these guys, they're targeting these specific types of people. They know why they're doing it. It's not coincidence. This has been going on for almost several decades, particularly like the last 2 decades. This is all happening in Atlanta. It's happening in New York City. It's happening down in Miami. It's happening in Houston, Dallas, Sacramento, LA, especially Chicago. And I know this because it happened to my workers, because I remember getting.
I think that like it's funny, bro, that a lot of the dudes crying, bro, about how like they're so oppressed and like they're just so discriminated against by every single other group. A lot of these dudes are supposed to be like gangbangers. First of all, if you're involved in gangbanging and you're in and out of prison, you shouldn't even be crying about racism, because you should understand what the fuck goes on in that, what you choose when you sign up for all that shit, man.
No, I mean, look, let me tell you something, man. And this is something, it's actually a problem where I'm at. It's gone to the point now that they don't go to that metro stop. They got to walk another 20 minutes more to another metro stop to go back to their place. And that's what's going on. And obviously I did contact the police and everything. The guy was African American, so he was understanding what was going on. But even he told me that, look, it's a bad area. It's the hood. Even I don't want to live here. I mean, and that's just the reality of it. Even people that I know that work and they go on the bus stops. Let me tell you some of the metro stops in Philadelphia, New York City, the DC area, even down all the way down to Charlotte, even Miami. Let me say right now, at nighttime, those bus drivers, most of them are African Americans. Even they told me, I don't want to drive in those predominantly African American hoods. I'd rather drove in the Hispanic areas than to do with that, because there's so much trouble going on. And I mean, I'm not going to sit there and say everyone is at guilt here. I'm not, but it's enough to sit there and say, look, there's a problem going on. And this victim mentality that's going on, you got to feel sorry for me and all that stuff. It's got to stop. Because what's going on. You see it, you're aware of it, whatever. We're not saying it's all your fault, whatever, but it's called take accountability. If you see something, say something. If you see your people in line, check them. It's the same thing with me. Do I like when I hear stories about this quote unquote Mexican or Mexican Americans bombing something? Of course not. That's why I say take full responsibility. I'd say, you know what? Tell me what the guy is. We'll check him. Okay. And I think if everyone starts checking each other, not just them, but everyone else, other groups in the country, I think everything will be safe. Everything will be less racial tension wise here in this country. Because right now, as we speak, there's so much racial tensions. The media is hiding everything up. Americans here are too emotionally race obsessed. It's getting freaking annoying.
And what they're hiding, what America is hiding, bro, is racism and a lot of animosity, and I would even say like hostility amongst what they call minority groups within like groups that are supposed to be like this like oppressed group that is like against the racist evil white people, and that's what they're hiding. They want to make it seem like it's everyone versus white people, but in reality, everyone in the this other group
is for themselves.
is getting terrorized by a specific group, man. And I think that like the Asian community is starting to realize how much hate they've been receiving.
I grew up around some Asians, and the Asians have always known. It's just like the official voices that show up on the television, whether it's for Hispanics or for the Asians, they're always very apologetic on behalf of the blacks. They're always apologizing for them. But if you talk to Kim Nguyen, the owner of the nail salon down the street, like, she's not mincing words. She's not apologizing. She knows that, like, man, I hope I get no black customers tonight. Not because I don't want to be mean to black people, but because I can never tell with those people if they're going to be volatile or not when they come into my business.
Well, I think the reason also why the Asian community kind of fails, like, the normal people that are tired of this stuff, is the fact that there is this pipeline, if you will, of, these Asian strivers that, grew up here and they attend like Ivy League schools. They say all the perfect things that gets them all the way to the top so they can be at the top of these leader roles, if you will. Yeah. And these pick-me's are, and we have the same problem with us as well, but with Asians, they have it too, where their pick-me's are the ones who are dictating all of these official party lines, even though the majority of us and them completely disagree with it, in my opinion.
I mean, but notice how everyone and all like white people, when they talk about Asians, they praise them, right? They almost
model minority. Yeah,
it's pretty much that. It's a model minority, and they pretty much like masturbate them, right? Look
and marry them.
Yeah, pretty much. Look at this genius Asian guy going to the Ivy League while the Hispanic is just and he's assimilating and he's speaking English while the Hispanic is a farmer who just speaks Spanish, right? So I think maybe if I'm sorry if I'm taking like another line in regards to that. I think we need to be careful with this, although I agree to a certain extent, there should be a process of self-affirmation of our identity, which implies saying that, we're not the same as you. But at the same time, we need to be careful.
I think, yeah.
Yo, guys, let Domran and Henry speak.
Yeah,
making a distinction.
Hold on. Let's let the guys who just hopped on. Renaissance, are you there, buddy?
Hey, what's going on?
What's going on, man? You've been hearing the discussion. What do you think about all this?
I think it's a discussion that needs to be had. I think it's kind of weird how, before recently, a lot of Hispanics around the country didn't really, connect online like this. I think it's good for us in general. I think because we face a lot of the same problems. So, yep.
Let me actually show you guys. I want to show you the video. So we talked about the video with the attack happened. Let me show you what I think is actually the bigger L in all this, because again, we realize these people go after our most defenseless, our most exposed, and they do it when there's no one else around to stop them. They're very sneaky about it. They're not just going, to be honest, I live in a decent part of Southern California, and frankly, there's very few of any black people in my area. Though there are, your token black family here and there. And, I've seen the look on some of their faces, like at Costco, like when everybody's in line trying to get their shit. And, most people at my Costco are Hispanic, Asian, and white. And it's like the one black family. And it's like, I can see like there's like this nervousness, embarrassedness in them where they're like, fuck, all these people think that like, I'm going to start a shit show here. These are reasonable, rational, black Americans, probably in the professionals. And you could just tell like the burden they carry of like, fuck, these people are looking at me like I'm going to start a fucking show here if somebody, gives me a bad attitude. And these people are totally not like that. So it's kind of sad. But let me segue back in here and show you guys this video so we can see the bigger L in all this. One sec. Where are we? Here we are.
Yeah, the last video I saw, it was like an entire family. At first, it was like a few people attacking the street vendors. Now it's like we have whole families attacking street vendors, dude.
Yeah, that's what you saw here. So let me play this look, again, these people are going to attack when they can get away with it. They're not going to attack full frontally. They're not going to attack where they're going to be facing, street level repercussions. But the sad part is that this rapper from the Bay Area, again, Bay Area Mexicans, hopefully I get some Bay Area Mexicans to come into the show, just really embarrassed themselves by trying to pander and cater to the blacks instead of holding them accountable. So let me show you a little bit of that.
De cuenta, mucha gente aquí nos andamos en muchas calles y mucha gente, niños nos hacen eso, pero siempre lo vuelven a hacer, y entonces lo que nos dio más coraje y la raza igual fue como llegaron y patearon la carreta, a pesar de que ya habían hecho todo y la patearon. Entonces es nuestro trabajo.
Entonces hasta usted sabe que esa situación con los niños pasa hasta niños de raza, ¿me entiende?
Pero lo que nos ofendió más fue que al patear la carreta es nuestro trabajo, lo que nos han enseñado a nosotros ahí a trabajar, y fue lo que más nos dolió, más de eso.
So basically,
de cuenta.
So, there's the rapper, you kind of heard him talking, and then here he is. Sorry, one sec, you guys.
So he's basically he said that they apologize as well too. I mean, for one, he said that they did it because she was protecting her work and her stuff. But he does want to apologize because aside from her protecting her stuff, she is a minor. Right. So he did want to, they did want to apologize, and I wanted to ask her, ¿y usted cómo se siente? La miro poquito como que.
Hey, look, we're sorry too.
Y usted dígame cómo se siente que es muy importante que usted se sienta.
Hey, bro, you started something, bro. Thank you, bro. Hey, thank you, bro.
Yeah, you already know.
Did you see his shoes? I'm sorry. I just had to fucking point that out. Let me just play this one video of this guy actually kind of rationalizing his bullshit. Here we are. So his name is Baby Gas. If you go on his profile right now, I think he erased all this stuff, but his whole thing, I guess I gotta download this. Let me just stop sharing the screen. His whole thing was that he was trying to make peace, and you saw that he mistranslated and he presented the
submission, submissive.
He said, "Oh, they apologized too because she's a minor," as if the little girl, getting out of pocket. If it was my business and the little kid tries to steal from me, I'm probably gonna spank him, and then I'll take him up to his parents and I might spank them too. But he's trying to put it up oh, they're apologizing, so then the blacks feel oh, okay. And I never heard the blacks say, "You know what, my bad, I shouldn't have thrown over your cart."
And they're only apologizing because they got caught. Let's be honest.
And they're not even apologizing though. They didn't even apologize. They just said, "Give her a hug. Give me a hug." I mean, Judas gave Jesus a kiss on the cheek. What the fuck? Doesn't mean shit. So, they didn't apologize, but this guy presented it like the Mexican couple who was the one who was victimized was apologizing to them. For what? For clout? And then what happened is that this guy
this guy, Baby Gas, is a pick-me, right? He's very blackwashed. So when you idolize someone, you can't really criticize someone that you idolize, dude.
Yeah, that's true.
It's like someone we know. I mean, it's there's nothing wrong having some sort of dialogue or a compromise, whatever. But like you said, when it becomes that whole, it's not, it's you're innocent and it's our fault, blah blah blah. It's like you being punched in the face and you're saying, hey, I'm sorry that I got punched in the face, and that's not right either. The bottom line is what's going on, and you see it all throughout the spectrum of this. I think honestly, spin out here. I think honestly, when it comes to guys like this and people like this, they're not helping. They're actually making things worse. It's like when you try to cuddle a baby or a child. I don't know if you guys have nieces or kids or little cousins. When you try to cuddle a kid and saying there's nothing wrong, you ever want, what happens? You spoiled a child and he can do nothing wrong. There's always somebody else. Give me something. Give me this. And I think that when you start doing that, this is what happens. And what's going on is that there's no accountability, no sort of checking going on. It's like, don't worry, it's someone else's fault, not yours. And what happens is that you don't progress. I honestly will say this. This is kind of like one of the main reasons why, unfortunately, a lot of African American communities don't prosper compared to other groups of people. Because you look, even the blacks from other communities, other countries that come here with almost nothing, they're surpassing them. That's the thing that I'm trying to tell people. Like, they're surpassing them. Like, don't you understand that you got blacks from Kenya that came from nothing and they're building economics and everything. They got a family structure and all that stuff, and they're surpassing you. Like, you don't see what's going on. And that's something that I always try to tell them all the time, that you can just copy what the Mexicans are doing. Just do what they're doing. Whatever they're doing, just copy what they're doing. You can progress more and more. But if you keep continuously be a victim and start blaming everything in the system, and that's the thing about it. It's, I always say on my channel here, tomorrow's white supremacy. The next day it's Asian quarter stores. It's the Mexicans the next week. It's the Vietnamese hair nail salons. It's single mothers. It's liberals. It's Trump. It's Biden. It's somebody. And there's no take accountability whatsoever, and that's really its downfall. Until there's somebody comes in and say, "Hey, it's on us. We're making mistakes. Let's take back our responsibility," and that's how we could progress more as actual men, grow up as men to lead in the house.
That's not the values of America. Like, here, this is a good opportunity for me to present something to the audience that they maybe have never thought. But I always view America as there is a trinity in America. There is like a structure of three, right? At the very, very top, you have the Jugandans, right? They're very juvenile. You have those people. and then you have, your generic whites. You call them Anglos, maybe that's at the top of that. But then you have kind of generic deracinated whites. And then at the bottom, you have the Black Americans. But all these people share the same views, values, and modus operandi. It's just one is broker than the previous one. So hold on. It's all about maximizing profit while minimizing work. It's a very scam artist type of worldview, where I'm going to make money because, I'm messing with the stock market, or I'm going to make money because I cornered this commodities market, or I'm extracting this wealth from this other country,
or I'm famous.
And now you can do it at the very bottom. I'm going to make money because I fucking hit a lick. It's the same spirit, it's the difference between, a pirate and an emperor, right? Like, I don't know if you guys ever seen that cartoon, but basically a pirate goes around stealing with one ship and an emperor has 100 ships. They're both stealing in a sense, right? So it's just different levels of it. And so you see this dynamic in this three groups of America. They all have the same attitude. They're just operating at different levels of brokenness. Let me go ahead and show you guys. This guy's not a pick-me monk. He's a Latinxer. Pick-me's are they're the ones.
Can you guys hear me? I want to comment on the video.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Henry.
All right, cool. Yeah, so as you were just mentioning about the values that they have, the values, you can even see it in the video with how the rapper's name and how he translates in Spanish, and it's off. And I guess what I'm curious, and it's that, you know, the family that was attacked, their kids, and, you know, where they work and the community they live in, you know, one of my biggest worries would be that they, you know, they end up like the guy in the video who was trying to bridge Black and brown unity. So yeah, that's my thoughts on it.
Yeah,
but this is the same guy, dude, that raps about like a bunch of other shit, bro. Like
I've
he
never heard of
raps,
this guy.
he raps about like, you know, the bitches, the money, the guns, the shooting people. This is the same guy, bro. Like, come on, man. Like,
Raps about N-word shit.
yeah, this is not what the
but
who's
what's
supposed to be
ironic,
like leading our community, bro. This is not who's supposed, but unfortunately, this is who's leading the younger Hispanics that all want to act that same way.
But I want to say this. What would probably be ironic is that that rappers' parents are probably, you know, they probably, I would assume they have more in common with the victims of that attack.
Look at his chain, bro. It's a fucking like ice cream cart, bro. Like, what the fuck is that for, bro? Like, what is that?
It is. Oh shit, you're right.
Let me play it. Billy, I know you had to go. Did you want to bounce? Or did you want to make any final word, or did you want to wait after the video?
I mean, yeah, I might as well just bounce now. I just wanted to thank you guys for having me on and just, you know, letting me say my little spiel. And yeah, I'm glad this podcast is really picking up and moving. And you know, I've been watching all of these sort of dissident spheres that have been going on for, oh my God, probably since like 2014. And it was kind of like a graveyard, honestly, with this sort of stuff. I'm really optimistic that, you know, this sort of stuff is, you know, that's finally for us, is finally a thing now. And, you know, it's desperately needed. And I think this channel is going to grow exponentially in the future. Peace out, everybody. Have a good night.
Yeah.
Take care, man.
Yeah.
Hey, see you, man.
Billy, we're going to need to do
Rancho, I also want to make a point to a little bit controversial. To go against the notion that Hispanics are not necessarily resentful. I think when you read like the type of sociology that some people like to do, some philosophers or sociologists that want to explore the nature of envy in Hispanic culture, right? I think it's interesting because it is anti-meritocratic in the sense that the Hispanics, when they're in the bottom, right? You're like the farmer of the farmer. When you're like Sancho, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then you see someone who is on top of you. You say, "Oh, that guy is on top of me because he's an hijo de algo. He probably have, I don't know, Jewish blood or something because." And I'm a cristiano viejo, campesino, labriero, arriego, and yeah, I may be poor, but I have that honor. But at the same time, it's like a comfort, you know, to a certain extent. And I think we have that a lot, you know, like, oh, so you are in the top, you must be the son of someone, or you might be a corrupt person, right? It's anti-meritocratic in nature. So I'm just throwing that out. Throwing that tendency of Hispanic culture, that the formulation of envy that Hispanic culture has to show that we have our bad sides and our darker sides as well. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, evil is a thing, and it affects all people. And I think what you're pointing at is a good example of an individual suffering from envy and resent. But what we were pointing out earlier is that this is beyond individual. This is a cultural resent. This is a cultural bitterness that Black Americans suffer from. And
I understand that.
I'm not going to put the blame entirely on Black Americans. To be honest with you, this might hurt, but this is how I view it. I'm just being honest. For me, Black Americans are pit bulls of the white Americans, you know, and the white Americans simply don't know how to control their pit bulls. And if a pit bull bites my son, I'm going to fucking want to tear the pit bull apart, but I'm going to want to tear the owner of that pit bull apart. So I can't hold Black Americans accountable because at the end of the day, they are in a sense a victim class in that sense. That doesn't mean that they're justified and they have carte blanche. That doesn't mean that they don't have the ability to overcome. That doesn't mean that they don't have the ability as a community to go out and check these little kids doing this shit. That's just intelligent, because at the end of the day, all this is going to do is add pressure. But my point is that, again, I understand that this is a dynamic that comes from the Anglos, from the Anglo establishment, because we can go to Cuba right now and we can go through a neighborhood in Havana and we're going to see black Cubans, and we're not going to grab our purse and kind of be all tense or be trucha, or maybe grab the pocket knife and open it while I leave it in my pocket just in case some shit goes down. You know what I'm saying? Like, shit goes down in Latin America, but it doesn't go down based on color, right? Like, anyone is going to be able to be a criminal in a sense, but you're not going to assume that this group of people that share a certain hue and skin tone are just across the board problematic, which is a dynamic, and that's the reality in this country.
And about that collective resent that you were talking about, Rancho, it's clear that it's in all the classes of Black America, from the lowest to the highest, because there was just a leaked video of Joe Biden. It was a Zoom call, and Joe Biden was talking to a bunch of Black Americans, and he was talking to them about Hispanics, and he said, you guys have to learn. You guys are going to have to learn to work with Hispanics. So that's the president of the U.S. acknowledging that Black Americans, in a way, don't know how to work with Hispanics. He was saying Hispanics are going to be the majority by 2040, and you guys have to learn how to work with them. And that's like at the top of the class, right? And then and we see the same resentment like at the lowest levels of the class, which is like of class, which is like the hood, right? The low bottoms. It's everywhere. It's not just in the middle or in the top or in the bottom. It's everywhere in Black America, and I would say even like the rest of America, the whole Trinity. Or
let me add to that. Let me answer that. Anarcomonkey. So great point on the Joe Biden thing. And I think that's kind of one of the other reasons why they're so resentful. Because once white people become a minority in the US, they can't really go to white people and say, oh my God, I'm a slavery, I'm a Jim Crow, gives me reparations, gives me all that, because now it's going to be us paying for that. So, and we're probably not going to take that nonsense, hopefully.
Anyway, if they can keep doing what they're doing, like pushing this white guilt on us that we shouldn't even have because we're not whites, then they might actually get away with it, man.
You know what? I'll be honest with you. This is why, if you notice something, they're trying to press a lot of that pro-Black Afro-centered onto us. There's a reason behind all of that. They know the demographics are changing. This is why they're so heavily invested on the so-called quote-unquote Hispanic, Latino, Latin American communities, because they want to force upon that, you got Black in you, indigenous people are Black, then, you came from Africa, there's Blacks over there, and if you neglect both of them, then they'll start saying, oh, did you know Spain was conquered by Moors, so that's where you came from, you're all Black. And that's all just a way to kind of put you in the box, into where they start to guilt trip you. And the reason why they're doing that, the real reason why they're doing that, is because the numbers for them are declining. I mean, that's just the bottom line. Like, their numbers are declining. That's why they're really doing that. Because if you look in New York City right now, for example, you look at what's going on in Miami, LA, even in places like Houston, this is what they even say this on their own panels. I've seen their streams when they talk about this stuff. They start saying as soon as they bring in Hispanic guys, it's like they'll be okay as long as you bring support African American politicians. But they say that don't let the ones that are Hispanics or Latinos, whatever, into that into those positions, because as soon as they come in, all the little beaners, all the Hispanic, all the Latin groups, they're all gonna vote for that guy, and they're not gonna vote for the other guy, and they're all gonna be race loyal to them, and they feel bad about that. And that's what you see with when what's her name, Kamala Harris when she left her seat, it was filled in by some Mexican American guy. Never mind the guy went to Harvard. Never mind he went to engineer. They didn't care about that crap. They immediately started attacking him, saying that, oh my God, we have a Mexican coming in and he is. I mean, it's ridiculous. And they know
it's fear that I think it's fear that they're going to lose control of the narrative, and all of this Afrocentrism that they're pushing is it's an attempt to control the narrative, like I was saying, dude, and it's like black supremacy, bro. It's an actual ideology. I've never really heard of like Hispanic supremacy, bro. I know we joke about it here on the podcast, but black supremacy is an actual ideology, and you have a lot of radical black groups inside of Black America. For example, the NFAC, the Black Panthers, the Black Hebrew Israelites that are also trying to control the narrative. And on top of that,
HBCUs. I know a couple of girls that actually went to HBCUs.
Give me a sec, you guys. I want to play the video because people are asking for it. So let's watch Baby Gas.
Hey, look, real quick, man. I gotta get on here and do this video while I'm on the road, just because it seems like there's a lot of y'all misinformed on this situation or whatever you seen in the video. All right, so for everybody wondering, y'all must have seen this video that been going viral about a situation that happened in Sacramento 2 weeks ago about a street vendor getting her cart pushed over. All right, well, what y'all did see was correct, but y'all didn't see the other piece of the video, right? So obviously there was two wrongs here, and we made it right today. A street vendor got her car pushed over, which was unacceptable, and there was an 11-year-old girl that was pushed in a situation which is also unacceptable. So what we did was we drove up to Sacramento today. I was able to get on the phone with the family who the altercation was with. At the same time, got on the phone with the street vendor who it happened to, and we were all able to come back to the neighborhood where it happened. Everybody was able to talk to each other, talk out the differences, apologize to each other. Really, here's the main thing, man. For everybody on here throwing negativity out there, all you internet gangsters out here talking that rah-rah shit about how.
All right, enough of this fucking guy. I'm sorry.
No. That's the problem. That's a problem right there.
El colmo que este hijo de puta tenga una maricada de pelotero, man. Puta que se mal parió tenga una cadena de lotero.
I think it's important to. I want to make a point in regards to what Ken was saying. I think we've been talking about how the fact that Hispanics are increasing demographically. All the groups, all the identitarian and minority groups want to sort of like depredate on Hispanics. You have the natives, you have the blacks, you have the whites with the castizo bullshit. And so yeah, and besides that, I think the Hispanic view of race, which is mestizophilic, right? And is even both racially and culturally mestizophilic. And in some way it recognizes like some sort of like dignity and value in the other. You know what I mean? Because that's mestizaje pretty much. And in that sense, I think it would be beneficial for Black Americans if we Hispanize the Southwest, Florida, and so on. You know what I mean? Because we recognize.
Don't say that, man, because they're calling that genocide. I mean, legitimately.
No, I understand what you're trying. I understand that, but what I'm trying to say is that.
Say as a joke, bro.
No, I'm not saying that as a joke. I'm saying that Hispanization is going to be beneficial for whites, for blacks. Unless they're very nationalistic about their beliefs, right? But I mean. There is an opportunity that they have with us. You know what I mean? And I think
I kind of don't want them in our group though. Either white or
they're not in our group.
Yeah,
they're not. I think what he's kind of pointing at is like the concept of federati. If you guys look up what a federati was.
Yeah, I get it, but I don't know. I'm kind of.
Here's the thing.
I wouldn't want.
Hold on. Here's the thing. The Black American community is there's no leadership. There's no center core. There's nobody running that car. You know what I mean? It's like Black lesbians who are running that car. So it's like that's impossible. It's like it's not going to happen. There's just no way to even work with these people as in a neighborly fashion, because there's chaos in their house. You get what I'm saying? So it's just like, to me, it's just
well, I mean, even Malcolm X mentioned the benefits that we had in our countries in regards to our mestizophilic tendencies, the revolution of
the issue is that there's no more Malcolm X. There's no more Malcolm X. There's no more Marcus Garvey. There's none of these voices. If there's a voice in the black
Rick Nasheed.
Yeah, exactly. If there's a voice in the Black American community that's male, that's masculine, and actually holding them accountable, they call him an Uncle Tom. They'll cancel him. And I'm thinking of people like Jesse Lee Peterson, or what was that crazy guy from Harlem?
Candace Owens, man. I think Candace Owens does a really good job.
This is on YouTube.
I mean,
that's
that's like the pygmy version of black people.
Yeah. No,
come on, but like it's not the.
And you don't want
want
a woman in a leadership role over your community.
And,
You know,
and you know what? I mean, if we criticize pygmy, we should criticize pygmy black as well. So,
No, OG, you're right. You're right. This is the problem with this. Any African American guy that sets a standard saying taking accountability, immediately there'll be trust into the word Uncle Tom immediately. Even on YouTube, any African American guy speaks up or like kind of like goes against the narrative on these panels and on these channels on those sectors on YouTube, they immediately get crushed immediately. It's like I have no idea what's going on in that sector. Now, Godzilla made some points there. I'll be touching it right now. Listen, the Afro Latinos, let me be perfectly honest with you. If you talk to a lot of the Afro Latinos, the vast majority of them are living in Hispanic Latino areas. There's a reason why. Even they'll tell you why they're living with them.
Totally. And we've touched on it, that subject a lot, where if people want to get blackwashed, like, get blackwashed. If you want to get whitewashed, get whitewashed. Like, if you're a Latinx or if you're a pick me and like you don't like us, like, it's cool. Like, just you're out of you're pulling your Hispano card. You know what I'm saying? Like, if there's one thing we do have is a demographic power. So we're not short on numbers, it's those groups who are short on numbers, which is precisely why they're trying to bifurcate us, to try to pat their numbers up with our manpower. But we're not short on any people. If these people,
let compadre talk.
Oh yeah, compadre, you wanted to give a feedback on what's this fucker's name?
On the video, yeah. So basically, the black and brown unity thing is pure hypocrisy, is fake love. And then another thing, like I said, we don't have to fight. The Mexican community and the black community don't have to fight each other. We don't have to show fake love either. We could just be separate, like them over there, us over here doing our own thing, and that's it. And then this rapper here and all these Mexican rappers from South LA who want to like take pictures and start kissing and hugging these little attackers, they do it because, number one, a lot of these Mexican rappers don't feel accepted by rap. So they feel like if they do these things, they could finally be embraced. But the truth is they won't be embraced because the music is trash. That's for one. And then another thing, they're just creating this false narrative about it that it's not true. Like, a lot of Hispanic people don't want unity. And that's just facts.
Nobody does. The only people who want are little girls who went to college or homosexuals.
That's another problem too, because that what you just talked about is also happening in Mexico. They're going to college and now they're being brainwashed, and now they're pushing this Latinx idea. I just had a family member tell another family member talking about that they're not educating enough to speak on anything, to open a book. And honestly, she comes from a real humble background for her to even talk like this, because this person only has an education thanks to the hard work and effort of her parents. And she's not, and for her to just come out here and be arrogant and then talk about injustices is hypocrisy. All the Latinx are pure hypocrites, because they'll talk about how they care about Hispanic immigrants, but as soon as a Hispanic immigrant gets attacked by a black person, they automatically want to come at us.
they want to go for black. It's the anti-blackness in the Mexican community. The
Look,
machismo. The
yes.
machismo is the problem. It's because you guys still want to be Spanish is the problem.
Yeah. I remember when these attacks started to happen last year, since the pandemic started. I would speak out against these things, and I would get called a racist, and I'm like, how am I a racist? Like, I said nothing racist, but then I understood that I'm not the only one who sees that this gaslighting in, and it's really unfair. And another thing that it bothers me too is the fact that they're just forcing unity and love. Like, you don't force love. Like, you just can't force it. Like, people just need to like separate and keep it peaceful. That's it.
That's just the reality of it.
That's the
just
solution.
that's how it is. It's unfortunate, but it's the reality of it here in this country, in the United States. There really isn't what we call a culture to assimilate to. It's like almost nothing. And the thing about it is, since there's nothing, that's why you have people so segregate themselves. As long, like for me, it's like you'll see the Asian groups on one end, you see the Jews, Orthodox Jews on the other end, you see the Hispanics on the other end, you see the Africans on the other end, and yeah, we can all get along if something like a natural disaster happens, I guess. But most likely, we're all going to be in our own little cliques. There's nothing wrong with that. I think the problem with a lot of these people now, they're trying to say we're all the same, we're all this kumbaya and everything. It's kind of like force, kind of like we're all forced
Every
to like
group
each other.
is different.
Yeah,
Look, every group is different. Look,
Yeah.
I saw this video of some Jewish and how they live their life, and they're their own, and they understand it, so they live amongst each other. But let's say if another group came and tried to like mingle with them, it's gonna be a problem because every group functions different.
Yeah, you have
And
to.
people
The
just need to
language,
accept it.
yeah. Exactly.
For
That's how
example,
it
this
is.
Jewish guy, he said on YouTube, he said that when their wives, they only go on like 7 dates and then they get married. Everyone else, we take our time. And you just imagine the chaos that would cause if like two different groups get together. It's gonna be chaos.
No, I mean
Because we
that's
live
the
different.
problem. That's the problem.
I have a position that I think I have a different position. I think we should the way that you're describing this sort of like like every group having their own like sector is very American communitarian identitarian type of dealing with politics and racial groups. I think although of course there was like a Republic of Indios and a Republic of Blancos in Latin America as well. There was also the Mestizo, who later became the dominant group in not politically but demographically. And I think like Hispanics, instead of we assimilated into us, into them, they should assimilate into us, And I think that's the position that I'm maintaining.
Okay, just one final point to all the Hispanos and especially to all the Mexicans. Let me tell you something real fucking clear, okay? You're not Tekashi 6ix9ine, okay? Stop living in this fantasy world where you think black people are somehow gonna claim you and it's gonna be cool and you can say nigga and it's not gonna fucking happen, okay? So get that out of your dumb frigging Zoomer head. It's an us versus them, okay? Period. That's my final point.
Yeah, I got to find a point because I want to transition into the other topic we wanted to cover today, which was these feminist riots across Hispanoamerica. These things are going to continue happening. There's nothing to tell me that this is going to stop. And the pressure is only going to be continuously built. And eventually these people are going to burn, whatever little bridge there is left. And they're just going to find themselves completely alienated. I kind of feel bad for the rational, reasonable Black Americans, the Black folk, because it's just wild, and I don't see this stuff going away. So, all I can say is, you reap what you sow. At certain point, we all know how Hispanics are. We all know not all of them are, peasant class, indigenous, entrepreneurs just trying to, make enough money for ends meet. Some of them are very feisty. Some of them are very well connected, well coordinated, well organized. And so shit's just going to spread out. And, there just shouldn't be any crying because at the end of the day, this is an opportunity for the adults in the room of the Black community to grab their kids by the ears, tell them to pick up their pants and to stop fucking around and pissing off the neighbors. But what's happening is saying, oh no, it's okay for you to be angry, Black kid, because, you know, systemic racism and reparations and all that. So that's the point I wanted to make. Let me go ahead here and transition. This is crucial because, again, the people who are overwhelmingly carrying water for Black Americans in the United States are what we call the Latinxers. They tend to be, you know, anti-religious, feminist Hispanic women, or they tend to be homosexual. Again, who's going to want religion and patriarchy and order if you're a feminist and a homosexual? So now we're going to see a manifestation of that energy within our countries. That's going to be very telling. Let me share that with you guys.
Porque a una de mis tías la mataron y la metieron en un tanque de cemento por culpa de su esposo, y su esposo se limpió las manos y no le han hecho justicia a ella.
Holy shit. I'm sure there's a lot of people with eyes right open there. That is what's going on right now in Hispanoamérica, in countries like Chile, Mexico, Colombia, Argentina. Nobody is safe. You see the alchemy, you see the gemism at work here. And yeah, I'll open it up to you guys and I'll share what I think about the whole situation.
Yeah, all right. One thing I just want to say about that, it's it's so funny that like the radical liberals and feminists that in Latin America they take the Colombian flag and they'll burn it. They'll take the Mexican flag and they'll burn it, or the Argentina and la bandera de Argentina y la queman. But in the U.S., liberals and these radical feminists, they'll fuck around and they'll wave a Mexican flag at their protests, and they'll wave a Colombian flag, a Venezuelan flag. It's like, which one is it? Do you guys love the ones in America claim that they love Latin America so much, and the ones in Latin America, they hate the countries that the ones in America claim to love.
It's
so
I'll tell you why. I'll tell you what's really going on. By the way, I forgot, some guys point out my information out there. By the way, I want to say something about that. It's because those feminists, the LGBT whatever, and these other right wing, conservative, left wing, whatever, these are just props, okay, just for the USA to get into these countries and start trying to change the laws. Period. End of discussion. I don't take what happened in Puerto Rico seriously about shutting the state emergency for machismo and domestic violence. I don't believe that one bit. Just why I don't believe these feminists walking around caring about female and femicide. I really don't care about that, because what's happening is that, okay, someone got killed. That happens. But what's so funny about it is that there are more men getting killed than is women. But when a guy gets killed, no one's is another thing. But one female gets killed, femicide, stop the streets, protest, etc., etc. That's what's going on. But what my problem is with a lot of these people here on YouTube and people there, like you see on the feminists over there going down, so it's going to be more aggressive. Number one, that tells you right there one thing only, that a lot of these people that are down there doing all that stuff, it's no question of being funded by people from the think tanks from the United States, what you call GM culture or the WASP, whatever you call it here.
NGOs.
Yeah, NGOs, etc., etc. They're the ones funding all this stuff. They're the ones trying to pressure the governments and, bring attention and say femicide. We got to get rid of machismo and all that stuff. That's all a cover up because they want to go down there and change the laws. Now, before you'll bring tanks and interventions and government interventions, that's out the window now. Now they're doing a this format. They're pushing Black Lives Matter. They're pushing out all these other groups and stuff that does not even, we don't have this stuff like this until this is going on. It's just another way for the United States to get into these countries and start trying to change the laws. And you know something about these feminists.
It's U.S. intervention, and that's why I talk about this cultural wall. Like when fucking the MAGA retards, the rightoids want to say like, oh, build the wall higher. I think that we need a fucking humongous cultural wall in between the United States and Mexico so that all of that shit stays in the U.S. We don't need all of that shit in our countries where abortion still isn't legal, where babies' lives still matter. It's like a narrative that these Latin American radical feminists are pushing, because I'm sure that men in Latin America go through as much shit as women, because I live in Latin America, dude. So yeah, dude, that's the type of shit that we got to keep in America. And make no mistake, man. Like I'm not mistaken when I say this. A lot of these radical feminists in Latin America, they are Afrocentrics, bro. They believe the Black legend. They use the Black legend. And I don't think they would have a problem with bowing down for BLM taking a knee, or bowing down for Hebrew Israelite Black supremacists, dude.
Yo. Let me add to some of Narco Monkey's points. So you said about the flag thing. Let me explain to you real quick. So in the United States, the oppressed group is Hispanos. So that's why they fly the Mexican flag, the Colombian flag, whatever. But in Hispanoamerica, the quote unquote oppressed peoples would be blacks or indigenous. So indigenous people have a flag. I don't know if you guys saw that in the video. It was kind of like a flag with several little squares of several different colors. Yes, exactly. So that's kind of their quote unquote oppressed flag, and our national flags would be the colonizer's flag, right? So I just kind of wanted to clear that up. I don't think I have anything else to say for now.
I got something to say.
I agree. It's like when they can use it for the
hold on, Monk. Let me go through the whole panel and then we'll come back. Go ahead, Angelo.
Because you brought up like they come out during the femicide, and you said everyone's suffering, like men in South America are suffering. The reason why they don't bring that up is because most of the men in South America are working class. They have, like, if a working class dude in Mexico gets shot in the street, bro, it holds no like real political weight. Like, everything they do is a performance. And if you notice, a lot of these people in the protests, a lot of them are, on the paler side of the skin color. A lot of them are just college intellectuals and all that. It's a performance art. it is a threat, but in the long run, I would say it's not really a threat because these people, I wouldn't say they hold no real threat besides their little performance art. Because if things come push to shove, these people will not be out on the streets. And the only reason it's happening, though, is because the government allows it. Like, if you look at a place like Russia, when they had their feminist riots, and they had, what is their tribals called in Russia? The Cossacks come literally whip these people off the streets. The problem is no one's doing anything. They just let them steamroll into the town.
And I want to touch on that, but let's keep going. Who else wants to share?
Well, Cancun, man, they did the same thing in Cancun. The police just started shooting at the protesters. And then I understand. Look, man, don't get me wrong. If there's injustice going on, someone not being prosecuted, it's understandable. I get that. But the problem is when they start ranting about machismo, I see in Argentina, I see it all the time. It's like ridiculous crap. It's like I'm thinking, okay, so this problem is machismo, but at the same time, let's say for example in Mexico, you got a bunch of drug cartels walking around. You're not pushing for those guys. You got no smoke for those people, but you want to protest about the femicide. Not to mention that there's a lot of drug cartels going around killing even women, and y'all don't want to protest against that. And then after that point, you go to Argentina and everything. They're like you said, they're burning up churches, they're flipping cars and everything like that, and they're getting into a little fist fight here and there, which is why again, like you said, what happens is that once you start doing that, don't be surprised the men start coming and start slapping them around, which is happening right now in Brazil. It happened in Argentina. It's happening in all these places. And they go screaming on the camera saying, "Oh, wow, look, I can't believe this guy hit me." I'm like, well, yeah, because you're destroying cars. What do you want me the guys to do? So, a lot at the same time, I've seen the protests, the female protests in my home, in these countries. I've seen them on TV and everything like that as well, and also in my home state. And I'll tell you right now, the men down there, when they see stuff like this, they'll okay, let them protest, but as soon as they get out of hand, you'll see the guys coming in, slapping them around, saying, "Look, you can't be doing this crap."
I don't know about that, but
They should go to Bolivia.
Let me add 2 more points. So it's funny how they always go for churches. They never go for synagogues. They never go for mosques. And I'm not saying there's a plentitude of mosques and synagogues in Hispanoamerica, but there's a couple, right? So they never go to these specific religious institutions. It's always the church. It's always the church. And to specifically touch on Colombia, it's very funny how they love to talk about the same thing: femicidio, machismo, blah blah blah, toda esa maricada, but they never mention all the rapes that that terrorist communist groups like the FARC were engaging in. The FARC used to rape little girls. They used to force them to abort. They have not apologized for that at all, even when they had their fucking La JEP, their Truth and Reconciliation fucking bullshit. They never fucking said they were sorry. These bitches are fucking hypocrites, and fuck them, man. Sorry, I'm pissed.
I would just like
also, we took a big L.
South American feminists are probably the funniest feminists. They'll sit here and be like, women's rights, equal rights, and then be like, "Oh, I still want to get married. I don't want to go to no fucking job. Are you fucking kidding me? Like, go to work."
That's changed. Well, I'll touch on that. Haniel, Carlos, my bad. Carlos,
I think there's there are artificial foreign. There's both foreign and national level on these protests. I think there's some sort of like zeitgeist between like middle class women, educated, that have access to the internet. There is some like feminist zeitgeist right now that is not only in Latin America but is also in Europe or in the US. But in Latin America has a particular character because it's Latin America. So there is some sort of cultural unity between these movements. But of course, there is an artificial foreign element based on the NGOs, Soros, and all of that, of course. And even if they have like loable goals, right, to fight domestic violence and all of that, I don't know. This is it is just a continuation of leftist movements in Latin America to a certain extent, against the church in Colombia in particular. liberals of the liberals and left of Colombia has always been very anti-clerical, and I think there's a continuation between those 19th century liberals who stand for who pray who had songs for Lucifer, and today's modern feminists who are doing the same Luciferian have the same Luciferian tendencies. But what I'm trying to, but even in that, there's loable goals that I don't want to, that are important.
But Carlos, the thing is that I understand what you're trying to say, but you can't call yourself a feminist and then say that there's a specific sort of gender violence going on in Hispanoamerica. What I'm trying to say is that if men and women are equal, then violence towards women isn't necessarily any worse than violence towards men. Now, of course, us as traditionalists, as people who accept biology and understand what sexual dimorphism is, obviously we know that me hitting a woman is way different from a woman hitting me. I think we all agree to that. But why are these feminist bitches who talk about equality and the men and women are equal and the women can do everything men can do and possibly even better? Why are they so fucking bitchy about this issue of femicide, which I don't even want to believe is real, because again, Hispanoamerica is a very violent region. It's not like the patriarchy is just conspiring to randomly rape and kill women and just in our little smoke-filled rooms. We're just trying to oppress women because we fucking hate them so much. Like, this is such a caricature of what a Hispano man
I'm not engaging with like the theoretical tendencies of feminism, or whether or not there's such a thing of feminicide or like gender-based violence. You know what I mean? I'm just saying that domestic violence is a bad thing, to be honest.
Oh yeah, sure. I completely agree with you. And there's a saying in Hispanoamerica.
I agree with you guys that same domestic violence should have the same level of discontent and indignation that narco violence or violence against men, of course. But
let me my take on the whole situation here. Now you guys know that, again, I always give the three roots: Cristo, el legado español, y el mestizaje, right? God, Father, Mother. So this stuff is part and parcel with the Black legend, and for that, we don't have anyone to blame more than our own states and the development of our states, because they were built on the Black legend. You guys got to mute. They were built on the Black legend. So this is just part and parcel of what's going to happen if you have 200 years of these lies developing over time, to where now these girls are rejecting all sense of patriarchy, which again is intertwined with our Spanish heritage and with any remnant of the church. So here we're looking at this performance art. I liked how you framed that, Angelo, saying Dios es gay. They are seeking to emasculate Hispanic society and reject simultaneously any kind of vindication of our Spanish heritage and reject the church at the same time. Fuera sus rosarios de nuestros ovarios. Get your rosaries out of our ovaries. Of course, there's outsiders in this. This stuff is not happening natively. Christian brought up the point of the police are just kind of standing there. If you notice, a lot of the police are actually women. And the police that were there kind of guarding the little temper tantrum hose were actually wearing the purple or whatever colored pañuelo that they had around their neck. So they were kind of showing solidarity, like, look, the police are on our side. Meanwhile, they're destroying colonial architecture, religious architecture at that. But again, we can't blame the NGOs, because the NGOs come in through the gate that we left open. And that gate that we left open is part and parcel with our historical development. It is connected to the Black legend. We can't just blame the Anglos or the Dutch or the Belgians or the French. We have to also take responsibility for our own history and correct things at the root. Now, the other thing here that I heard some of you guys say, you're kind of playing this down about like Hispanic feminists are like kind of bullshitting. Like, no, it's beyond that. Maybe in certain countries, you know, these girls are still girls and they're just kind of following the trend of what the girls are doing in Argentina and Chile, Colombia, Mexico. But the reality is, no, dude, there was videos of a Mexican girl who shoved an old man in his 80s or 90s, broke his arm, and she didn't even get in trouble for it.
Yeah, and who else do we see attacking Asian elders in San Francisco? Young radical black men. Who else do we see burning churches in Europe and all over the U.S.? BLM and other radical leftist groups. And I just want to throw something out there. Here where I live, man, there's feminist propaganda all over, bro. There's like aborta written on the walls, then the little fucking symbol with the little fucking Marxist hand or black power hand inside of the feminist I mean the women symbol, the gender symbol, and I mean, what does that show, man? Like it's not just like it's really bad at this point, bro. It's an attack on our identity, our religion.
Yo, one last point, and let us
hold on, you guys, because I wasn't done. I'll loop it back to you, Klaus, and I know Taco wanted to make a point. We have to ask ourselves, why aren't the men doing anything about this? And this is where
because they're at work.
No, it's not that simple.
It's worse than that. No, it's more complicated.
This is where the conversation's going to get uncomfortable. So you know what? I'm actually going to let Taco make his point, and then I'm going to come back because it's going to take us somewhere else. Go ahead, Taco.
Yeah, I don't know if, sorry guys, I joined in a little bit late, but I don't know if you discussed like, you know, what they did to this past International Women's Day, where they had to guard the Palacio Nacional in Mexico with a big wall. AMLO put a wall up to guard the Palacio so that they wouldn't destroy it. But, you know, this has been going on for a while. A lot of this is demonic influence. So like, you know, a lot of, you know, people listening might not, you know, believe it, right? But I mean, we as religious men, as Christian men, Catholic and Orthodox men, we understand that it's a spiritual battle. And Father Ripperger talks a lot about the council in terms of exorcism and then Satan's 5 generals. And these women are under the influence not only of the demon Lilith, but there's like another demon. It's I forget the name right now, but
Jezebel is it Jezebel?
No, I don't think it's Jezebel, but it's like for female. It's for because Lilith is like the bisexual demon, right? Like the seducer, the succubus, the bisexual.
She rejected. She didn't want to listen to Adam. She was the first feminist.
Right. She was the first feminist. Feminists look up to her. So you know that's the primary one for a lot of these girls. Not so much. There's also one specifically for like very butch, like lesbians. But basically, these women, you know, since they're attacking the church, they're attacking Christ. You know, they're attacking religious symbols. Blasphemies, you know, depicting, you know, the Lord is gay. Yeah, you know, blaspheming on the Virgin Mary, like anything that's holy is inverted for them, right? So they're inverting anything that's holy, and they're celebrating the fact that they're killing children in the womb, which is another demon. Moloch is one of the names, but also Baphomet of you know, child sacrifice. So these are women who not only have been brainwashed, you know, by, you know, the neoliberal propaganda from the first world countries, but also they're under serious like demonic influence. And you know, we, like Noel was getting to say, is that like, you know, why aren't the men doing anything to stop this? And it's really bad because we don't we don't have the men that are capable of actually doing that right now, because the minute anyone says anything, they will be destroyed, like, you know, in their personal life, in their job life, with like the cancel culture. And you know, it's just so hard to do it, and it's getting harder to do that in our home countries, and it's almost impossible now in the United States to even say anything, right, to say the truth about this stuff. And like it's just really, really, really sad, the state of you know, the men and also our churches. And you know, this is a reflection of that, of the spiritual battle, of the state of the spiritual battle.
Yo, Dominican Renaissance wants to make a point. Dominican Renaissance wants to make a point.
Go
ahead.
Wait, I just wanted to say one more thing. The term femicide is bullshit, right? Because all murder is just homicide. And like they say, oh, they're being murdered because they're a woman. That's not true, right? People commit murder for many different reasons, but very rarely does someone commit murder just because you are, you know, a woman, or just because you're a certain race, or just because. There's always something that precipitates it if it's not premeditated already, right? And you know, spouses kill each other. You know, women kill their husbands. You know, husbands kill their wives. It's usually over, you know, money or another lover, or like there's like so many different reasons why someone kills someone. To make up a category that's like brand new, never existed before, and say, oh, they're just being killed because they're a woman, right? It just reminds me of right, but it just reminds me of another group that was just killed because, right? Just because, for no reason at all. You know, one day they just decided to like kill these people, right? So like it's just like the same thing, for no reason at all. You know, men all over Mexico just decided, you know, and we're talking about Mexicans that, like, yeah, like they're patriarchal and you know, they're machistas, but you know, we're also the charros, right? Like who like love and serenade their women, right? So like it just doesn't make sense how we would, for no reason at all, want to kill these women, right? Like just because they're a woman. There's always a reason behind it. Maybe they're involved with drugs, with crime, with like all kinds of things, man. There's like a bloody drug war going on in Mexico. You know?
Dominican Renaissance, final point.
Yeah, let him go.
Yeah, I think, you know, when I see stuff like this, I always think, you know, what are the men doing? I think men are supposed to, you know, keep the order, you know, in the home, in the country. And, yeah, I would say that the men are, I would put more of the blame on men for not being able to control the situation.
It's always men's fault, for sure.
And I think, you know, we need to get rid of this political correctness, you know, that's coming out of the West, so that we're able to talk about these things, you know, without, you know, silencing each other.
I think that the men are not able to control the situation, bro. We're not able to control it because
Go ahead. Let me hear why you think, because I got it. Go ahead.
Because we've been, for a few years now, we've been emasculate. Well, there's been an attempt to emasculate and emulate us, and this like there's a whole lot of demonization of men going on. There's a whole lot of anti-man propaganda being pushed, and I think that in a way, a lot of us, like, we even become guilty. Well, we feel guilty about some shit that we're not guilty of. You know, we're not just guilty because we're men, dude.
Let me throw something at you guys, and again, this might make the conversation a little uncomfortable. Women need, when women are in their teenage years, is when it's most important for them to have a close bond to their fathers in their teenage years, because that's where women go from girls to womanhood, And if they don't have a certain self-confidence that only the relationship with their father can give them, they will seek to fill up that hole with the little cute boy at high school or whatever other things out there that can be tempting her. So if a woman's not confident, if a woman doesn't have a strong bond with her father, something's going to fill up that vacuum. Chances are what fills up that vacuum is going to make her a bitter woman down the line. It's probably some guy that's going to use her, fuck around with her, break her heart. It's probably been most of the guys on this panel that we've all played that role in more than one girl's heart, I'm sure. The question is, why aren't the fathers there to raise their daughters? What are the fathers doing? Where are they? Now, if we're honest with ourselves, is what's happened with men. Yes, all this stuff that you guys are pointing out, that there is an attack on masculinity, all that. But that can only take root if there's men slipping in their roles and their responsibilities. What's happened in our societies, in our culture, is that the seeking of pleasure has overwritten the responsibility as a man. So men today are seeking pleasure. They may have a wife, they may have a family, but they're going to take that little bonus of the week and they're going to go spend it whoring around or drinking with their pals. They're going to go do what teenagers do. And all the while, their daughters are abandoned to the world. So all these girls that we see protesting are victims of that. Now, that's just the nicest scenario. Let's get into a little bit darker scenario. Let's be a little bit more realistic with ourselves. How many of these girls have been molested as children? Right? How much of this anger comes from an experience of being sexually molested as a child or a preteen?
Yeah, but what kind of men do that type of shit to these girls?
Sure. Men who are fucked up, who probably got molested themselves too.
Niggas who are possessed by demons.
Not only are you right, it goes even deeper than that, and it's dark as fuck, man. So
and this is where if we want to solve this problem as men who are striving to be godly, men who are striving to be the heads of our households and play the role of provider and protector and pastor of our families, we got to face the reality for what it is. These girls are being molested more than likely by someone in the family, if not a close friend, right? A family friend. But where are the fathers? Why aren't the fathers protecting their daughters? This is why the men aren't doing anything in these countries, because the men feel guilty, because the men know that they've gone to these fountains of pleasure and extracted pleasure from these girls. So how am I going to go and correct this girl when last year I got her a little bit drunk so I can fuck her? How am I going to go correct this girl if when I was a 14-year-old boy and she was 7, I put my hand down her panties? That is what's preventing the men from correcting these girls, because the men got a guilty conscience.
Well, yeah.
Bro, it's I don't know exactly when this happened, but I can kind of tell you that in Colombia, things started getting pretty degenerate somewhere around the late 80s and early 90s, and that's where I think these Colombian men have started slipping in their responsibilities as fathers, right? Now, thankfully, this didn't really happen in my family. I have a two-parent stable household, and I'm kind of good with that. But you do hear stories, man. You do hear stories of the horny PE teacher kind of getting a little too cozy with some of the students.
It's the horny cousin. Let's be honest.
Or also, shit like that. A lot of, and this is not just in
or God forbid, it's the fucking dad himself. I mean, we got to be real. We got to be real with our societies. Our society, as feminine and masculine as it is extremely sexualized. And the thing is that at least our grandparents had the church to check that energy and kind of guide it in the right directions, which is why our birth rates were so high. But now the church is gone. And so now you have this lustful energy in there. You have your Sábado Gigantes with the models in skimpy dresses. You have the skimpy dressed weather reporter. I mean, it's just this sexualized energy in Latin America.
And then you have
the sexualized. Wait, hold on. Let me finish. Even the guys are really over sexualized. And let's be honest here. And look,
you look profitable.
Yeah, the thing about
it's because the NGOs are hypersexualizing everyone, including little kids.
But the
Yeah,
NGOs,
this is the thing about it. This is
again,
look
the,
at what's going
the
on now.
hold on. The NGOs are mosquitoes. Mosquitoes only take root where there's still water. Right? So, yes, the NGOs are causing problems, but they only are a problem because they're able to put their eggs in still water. Where is the still water? We are the still water. We need to take responsibility. Yes, these people are a problem. Someone is asking if the Russians are behind this. No, dude, it's confirmed. I can show you paperwork of how the State Department was hiring NGO workers to go into Nicaragua, okay, and foment feminist propaganda, racial propaganda, LGBTQ propaganda, work with quote unquote the community to foment these groups. This is a matter of policy. The United States need to do this in order to continue extracting wealth, not just mineral wealth, but the labor of these countries that we come from. So yes, the NGOs are a problem, no doubt. But at first, they have to go through the gate. Who is leaving the gate open? What is the gate that's open? It's us. We are fucking up as men. Why aren't the men correcting these bitches?
I think because we've been also a men in Latin America and in America also. We've been like kind of been led away from the church, man, by all this degenerate culture, bro. This jam culture is out here hypersexualizing like children, bro. We see it in like that Netflix show Cuties, and it's so funny that these radical feminists take the LGBT people's side when LGBT community rapes a lot of children, bro. I think it was like out of all the children.
Hold on. Wait, can I interject here? What about the theory of the church raping children itself?
I think the church has been sexualized, but to say that the churchmen are more rapists than el tío, el primo, el vecinito is unfair.
Well, I think.
Well, here, let me put it to you this way:
the unbound horniness, and here's the reality: none of these girls grew up going to church. These girls are from a generation whose parents went to church, so you can't even use the church thing on me anymore because these girls did not go to church as kids. These are 90s kids. These are late 80s kids. These are early 2000 kids. These kids didn't go to fucking church.
Although it doesn't help that
you also got to specify which churches and
it doesn't help that
what
the
churches today. Can you guys hear me?
Sorry, Henry.
I think that the church itself is perfect, and it's always always has.
What I want to bring up is like Klaus, you mentioned like the degeneracy that exists in Colombia started in the 90s, and
not that it started, but it got really out of hand.
It was becoming more popularized, and now you have females with OnlyFans, so it's only getting worse. But post Vatican II, like, so what is it, 1965?
Yes.
This is when it basically all started collapsing, and the men of today weren't the same men that their grandfathers were. Maybe that's a part of it.
Yes, exactly. I wanted to touch on that. Yes, we do have to criticize specifically the Roman Catholic Church post-Vatican II church. The church has become useless. It's just it's basically an NGO with funny hats at this point, right? Yeah. Now, and it hurts as a Catholic to say that, I don't want to say that about my church, the church that I grew up in, but it's true. But I wanted to add to your point, Noel. Blaming the church is also an issue because we can blame all these things: NGOs, the church, our Republican nationalism, our funny secular socialist constitutions, all of that. But at the end of the day, Noel, you're 120,000% right. Everything is men's fault. Everything is our fault, which is funny because feminists say that everything is men's fault, which is kind of like the brainlet take because they they don't understand what they're trying to say. But yes, it ultimately everything is our fault. We have allowed this to happen. We are not a godly people anymore, and I don't want to be too judgy here, right? But we fucked up, man. We fucked up, and we gotta go back. You know, we gotta return to actual tradition, which is respecting women. In Colombia, and I'm sure in Hispanoamerica, there's a saying: "A la mujer no se le toca ni con el pétalo de una rosa." That's actual machismo in a nutshell. A la mujer no se le toca ni con el pétalo de una rosa. We respect our women. We love our women. We cherish our women. Okay. So yes, sorry for the long rant.
Go ahead, Taco. You want to make a point?
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. You know, Klaus said like the brainlet take. You know, there's that meme that it's like, yeah, men are to blame from everything on one side of the bell curve, and then the other side of the bell curve is like, yeah, men are to blame from everything. It's like a horseshoe theory. But I just thought that was interesting. That's funny. But yeah, so I wanted to back up your point, Noel, like, and also, you know, from my own life experience, right? So a lot of us, most of us, grew up in homes without a father. Like, as you said, our fathers were out pleasure seeking, whether it was, you know, alcohol or women, but seeking of pleasure. I know that, you know, most of us grew up in homes with single mothers, right? So there was no guidance and there was no control over our mother. Our mother had complete control over us, especially as men, right? And then we're raised up in public schools where there's teachers that are female. So men don't have positive male role models in their lives, right? And so then we become that fuck boy, that guy, because a lot of the times mom is so mad, right, at dad for leaving and fucking things up, and she takes it out on you, and then basically, you know, is, you know, giving a transactional like love, right? So that she doesn't necessarily give you the
she doesn't have love. She doesn't have that love to give, you know?
Right, exactly.
Wait, hold on. May I ask a question here? Is there? I mean, okay, how many people here on the panel has single parent household here, raised in a single parent household? How many?
I don't know. Probably everybody.
No, not me. No, not me.
No, I mean, because I was raised by two parents.
No, I was.
You know, like, because the difference is
I wasn't. Yeah.
Okay, the difference is though compared to the United States. But the difference is though, I will put it this way: the difference is in Latin American countries, even though there's a single mother there, there's still some sort of male presence walking amongst there. There's some sort of the grandfather or the uncle. There's some sort of male presence per se.
Yeah, that's true.
But
you know that what I'm just going to back it up is to say that I did have that male presence, right? You know, I had my grandfather, I had uncles, I had people around, right, that were men that were worthy to look up to. But it's still not the same in terms of the immediate nuclear family dynamic. And Jesse Lee Peterson talks a lot about this. And it's like, you know, mom's not giving you the right love. You're searching for your mother's love so that you're trying to fulfill it and do the same thing that your dad did by going around pleasure seeking. So then now you're, like you said, you're playing around with, right? You're playing around with these women. You're breaking their hearts. You're going back and forth. You're being a man whore, essentially, for like a good 10 years of your life until you wake up and you're just like, oh shit, I can't keep doing this. Because then how you see how men who kept doing that past their 30s, what happens to them, right? So you're like, oh shit, I got to stop this now. And Noel's right when it says that like a lot of these men have guilty consciences, and a lot of it is like, okay, well, you know, we loved the whore, right? Like we wanted the whore, like we, you know, our lust makes us like, you know, worship at the altar. That's why men go to the strip clubs and, you know, like all the stuff. Like, so like part of the men in the society want these girls to be like this, and then they think that they should be like this, that this is how they should be, because not only are the schools, the government, everyone's saying that the feminists, like this is what female empowerment is. The evil spirits that are talking to them that they can't hear, but spirit inside their spirit telling them like, this is how you should be. This is, let it go, be sinful, don't feel bad, because they have guilt. And so like, if they were to acknowledge their guilt of the things that they've done, they would have to repent and do differently, but they don't want to, right? So all of us, right, the man and the woman, have this guilt that we don't want to repent. We don't want to, you know, admit that we've been doing wrong and the consequences of that. So like, that's why these girls go to the extreme, and the men let them.
These women are begging for, you see, here's the thing. The more a man restricts his impulse for pleasure, the more masculine authority he's given, both by society and by his family. Masculine authority, not power, because we know a man is stronger than a woman. He can overpower her. We're talking about authority. Without the need of physical intimidation, we give this man authority. Why? Because he's virtuous. What's the root of virtuous? Manly. He's masculine, right? So
virile. So
exactly. So
viril, yeah.
these men don't have the authority to correct these women, and these women in the West, and especially we're seeing now in Latin America, they're begging for masculine order and discipline to be imposed on them. Why is it that in Europe, the English women are becoming Muslim? The feminist women are becoming Muslim because they're begging for that masculine authority to grab them by their wrists and tell them to sit the fuck down and shut up. But the men don't have los cojones to do that today, because the men today are spiritually very effeminate,
very weak spiritually. I would say.
And the funny thing is that even though they rebel against traditional masculinity and all that, a lot of these women are very addicted to Bad Bunny, especially when he released that song "Yo Perreo Sola." They fucking fell in love with the guy, and you listen to some of his lyrics and you think, wow, this guy pretty much treats women like sex objects way more than your average reggaetonero. And they'll kind of shill for Bad Bunny and kind of defend him and say, no, he's about sending a positive feminist message and all that and this and so on. I mean, you can believe that, but his lyrics say otherwise.
But
so,
to
yes,
them, being a sex object is positive feminism, right? Like, just look at what the hit song was last year, WAP. What were the first intro words to that song? There's some whores in this house.
Yep.
Like literally the entire song was telling these young girls to be whores.
The biggest feminist girls love to be physically dominant. They have rape fantasies, probably because they got molested as kids, dude. They're the ones who are asking you to choke them out. They're the ones who are asking you to pull their hair, to treat them like shit. They want to relive that shame.
It's not just to relive it. It's from what I've read, it's because it kind of gives them control over a situation that they could not control.
Part of that too. There's part of that.
So basically, the explanation goes that if this whole fetishizing rape and all that, it makes them feel more comfortable about the past experience that they had, because they can kind of psychologically, subconsciously justify what happened to them and say, well, actually, I kind of enjoyed it, so it wasn't all that bad. But obviously,
it's like
I think it's
very sad. It's a very sad
masochism, and that masochism inside of their fucking brains. I was reading an article that said that like over 50% of rape victims have an orgasm when they get raped, dude.
Yeah, it's true.
Angela, I think it's honestly like amazing, like politically and historically, that we've come here to even like have to have these conversations in general. But like I do believe that like history does repeat in a weird way, and we've seen this before. Like the whole world is in like a really softer version of like the Weimar Republic. Like instead of real physical action, it's just these weird debates and a few like performance art. But I've said it before, like all these things are building up to something, and whether the outcome is good or bad, it's going to happen. But the best we can do is to have kids and have a good generation, to when the time does come, they don't choose the wrong side.
Amen. And
Dude,
that's el momento hispano. That's el momento hispano.
Dude,
Because
there's
right
like,
now there's literally just a big stack of like matches and flammables, but everybody's too pussy to like even smoke a cigarette now, so no one's gonna like explode it right now.
like you guys were saying that, we've seen this before. Like, not only, you could look back in scripture. This is told time and time again. This is how societies decline. And you can look at Sodom and Gomorrah, but there's like a scripture. I don't remember exactly which one it was, but they said, that God gave them over to depraved minds, and that reprobate minds, and that men started sleeping with men, and then women gave up their natural uses, and then engaged with each other. And like, so this is because of our wickedness that we've become wicked. We've turned away from God and in our culture and everything. We no longer believe that we need God, that we are our own gods. All we need is ourselves and our intellect. And like, this is the result of that thinking for several years. And how we've always said it was by extension the Enlightenment.
You know what it is? There's really no like humbling like force right now, because in a weird way back then, you had things to keep you in check, whether it was the will of God or just natural. You had diseases, plagues, you would get tossed into a war every 5 years. So people were really religious because, any day you could just be dead. And people, this is going to sound really messed up, but people live too good right now. There is no like real humbling force anymore.
I mean, just look at that. You have medications that can help you live with AIDS, and that's promoted on TV with commercials. So like, even the punishment for being a complete degenerate, like, you can get away with it now. Like, you got medic. Right.
Well, the white man science.
For that, I have good news, because the economic systems that the Western world relies on right now, everything's going to collapse. The debt is unpayable. It is very likely that the U.S. is going to go to war either with Iran or with China. And unfortunately, many people will have to die. Many people will have to be slaughtered in order for us to go back to any semblance of normalcy. And I hate that that's going to have to happen. I don't want that to happen.
War's
but
pretty good
yeah.
for the economy.
Well, what's interesting about that? Biden reversed the DOD's policy on these non-binary and his trannies. And if they want to go to the front lines, that's I'm not insinuating anything sinister here, but
like, if you send them to the front lines, like if I get captured by Hezbollah, at least I'm not gonna get tortured and like humiliated on TV, bro. So
based Afghanis shooting down tranny fighters.
Here's the thing that what that causes is that the actual valorous men, why would they want to fight to preserve this country? Why are they going to give their lives to save this? They're not. They're since we're kids in American school, we get in trouble for being boys. I lived my whole life being in trouble for being a boy, being strong, energetic, confident, talkative, all the things that are actually good in men. I got in trouble for it. I'm sure we've all had similar experiences. So the culture, the society, the schooling is trying to get you to beat that out of you. And what, we're going to go give our lives to defend this so that we can make Afghanistan just as gay and degenerate?
Bro, speaking of which, there was an article about how Afghanistan already has its first female tattoo artist, and they were pinning it as fucking progress. I gotta find that article, y'all. Hold up. But before I do that, I just wanted to make it very clear to anyone listening to this that we support and respect and unironically love and cherish our women. We obviously don't want to see them be raped or murdered or assaulted or anything. If you even thought that we were advocating for that, it is absolutely false. And this feminism thing is actually making things worse. We want to go back to a place and a time where women were respected and cherished, and if you even so much as laid a hand on a woman, you would be absolutely wrecked by everyone in the community. And I just want to say that clear.
Hey, do you guys think that all this like like fucking degenerate rap music nowadays, and not just rap, just music in general, that objectifies women and men. Do you think this teaches like men to hate women and women to hate men, and that way like kind of induces like mommy and daddy issues
Yeah,
Oh, without a doubt.
absolutely, man.
Men hate women equally as much as the women hate them now.
Because when you have a culture that keeps saying bitches ain't shit and niggas ain't shit, eventually people are gonna start believing it. You know, because before it was kind of like jokey and kind of tongue in cheek. Yeah, man, fuck these bitches, man. They all some bitch shit, blah blah. But you know, the next generation isn't gonna have that subtlety in mind. They're really gonna think, yeah, man, fuck these bitches or fuck these dudes. You know, and
let's go back to what we started this whole stream today. What community that has served as, in a sense, kind of a guinea pig do you see that attitude the most prevalent in it? Talking about fuck these bitches, right?
NeGringos.
These bitches ain't shit to me, you know. And a bitch is the mother of your child. Is the soil where you plant your seed in. So if you don't respect the soil in which you plant your seed in, how much are you going to value the plant that comes from it? And when we look at abortion rates amongst the Black American community, I mean, it's astronomical. You know, over 40 million Black babies have been aborted since Roe v. Wade. Over 4. You know how many Black Americans there are in the United States? 40 million of them. Okay, so the same amount of them have been aborted. Go ahead.
You know what's crazy is like there was an incident recently. I think it was in Missouri, where there were 2 Black teens that raped and killed an Asian girl. I think she was Vietnamese, Hmong girl, right? And there were also other teens around there watching, joining in, filming, right? They left her bloodied so bad, like that she died from her wounds. The medical examiner said that, she had never seen something so savage. And the reason why I bring this up is because once they got him and like they were talking about, why he did it and what happened, what was going on, he said he didn't care about what happened to her because he didn't know her personally. Like she meant nothing to him. Like she had no value whatsoever as a human being to this kid. And like, why? Like, where does this come from? It comes from the
he's
culture.
Possessed. Like,
yeah.
You know what? Things make a lot more
and
sense.
It comes from the music, right? Like possessed, but like possessed by the music, man.
Has a crazy power. I'll give everybody in the audience an experiment. Listen to, like, when you're in your car and you're cruising around, or you're on the train or whatever whatever transportation you use, and you got your headphones in. Listen to a couple songs from 3 6 Mafia. Just any songs from 3 6 Mafia. And then immediately play Gregorian chant and tell me the energy around you, how it changes and what you feel. You literally feel the demons run the fuck away. The demons that you were just communing with as you were listening to that music, you hear them run the fuck away. And all of a sudden the room gets real quiet in your head. So try that out. I want to point a little bit to this picture here. You guys see this happened on International Women's Day when Mexico City. See, that was Mexico City. We all expect Mexico City. We expect Bogota. We expect Buenos Aires. We expect Santiago. Those places are degenerate, filthy places.
Was that this year?
This was this year, the same day. This is in Michoacán. This is a Purepecha village. Okay. This is a Purepecha village. This is an ancient church that was built who knows how long ago. I'm getting a little bit of feedback from you, Kem. So look at the church is on fire and look at how it got left. I mean, this is probably 16th century Baroque architecture. This is a Purepecha village. Go to LA, listen to the little Latinxer girls who are fucking clearly mestizas or castizas, whatever. They're clearly not pure Indians. They're all identifying as Purepecha now. All of a sudden, Purepecha is a new thing to be. Everybody's a Purepecha now. But go to the Purepecha village and they call this is the colonizer religion, right? Go to the village and tell them that. this is an act of cultural terrorism. And this brings to the point that I wanted to bring. Why are our governments incapable of doing anything about this issue? Again, because our governments come from our governments are the pond. Our governments are the swamp where the mosquitoes nest. That's why they can't do nothing about it. Our governments aren't even equipped to think about NGOs coming in, going to the community, going to the schools, promoting STEM work for the girls or tattoo artistry for the girls. They're not even equipped to see these things, let alone combat them. Because in order to truly combat this phenomenon, you have to question what birthed our countries. And you have to go through it with a repentful eye. And that's very hard for the nationalism that exists within us to do. But if we don't do that as men of this generation, we're still going to lose our nations.
No, I got an even harsher take than you. It's not that they're not equipped, and I'm gonna say this, and it's gonna sound a little crazy. Some governments are allowing this. This is being allowed to happen. Look at who the mayor of Bogota is. Yeah. Look at who the mayor of Mexico City is. Look at who used to run Chile before this other guy came to play. Look up Michelle Bachelet.
Bachelet.
Okay, look up who runs Argentina. Okay, look at the demographics of Argentina, right? Just this is not necessarily speaking governments that are not well equipped to deal with this issue. It's governments that are allowing this issue to happen. And that's my observation, you know. That's what I want to say.
Yeah. I don't know if you guys had any points. I want to share this video that you shared with me of the Afghani tattoo artist. We got tattoos in Afghanistan. And then you wonder why these people call the U.S. the Great Satan. And why these people want nothing to do with this, even if they have to kill themselves in order to do it.
میتونستیم این کار رو در خارج از کشور انجام بدم ولی خواستیم این کار رو در افغانستان انجام بدم چون که تتو آرتیست خانم در افغانستان نیستش تنها نمیتونن بچه‌ای کار انجام بدن ما خانم‌ها هم میتونیم
Cue emotional music.
That's a Hindu symbol, by the way, if you guys didn't know. That's the symbol.
Yeah, the symbol. Clearly, this is a huge PR stunt, you know.
ولی یگان مولاها هستن که مثلا تتو رو میگن حرام ولی یگان مولاهایی هم هستن که میگن تتو حرام نیست و کسایی هم بودن که با من گفتن که حرام
I never thought I would empathize with fucking what was the dudes who controlled this country before?
The Taliban.
Los tales Ivanes.
I mean, if Afghanis are watching this video and we just showed them what's going on in Latin America, Catholic Hispanoamerica, traditional Hispanoamerica, where their language is both male and female, and all these things we like to talk about. How long before it comes to Afghanistan?
I don't know because they actually like do something actively do something about it.
Totally.
Well, the thing is that we already have the first cancer node. We already have the first tumor in Afghanistan. So I mean, how much longer? I don't know. This is the thing. We don't know. In 20 years from now, they may be singing the Farsi or the Dadi version of El Violador Eres Tú, and then we're just gonna be peak clown world, and it's only gonna get worse 20 years from there.
Dude, we already have a fucking like vice president in America, bro. That's a woman. What's going to happen when a woman gets into power in America or in anywhere in Latin America, bro? What then?
I'm pretty sure they're gonna skip the woman part and just gonna go to the first trans woman president of the United
I've always
States.
thought about that. Like,
Would
Middle
That's
Eastern
scary,
countries
bro.
even interact with America at that point?
Yes, Saudi Arabia. You think Saudi Arabia was gonna stop just because they have a tranny president?
You know what? I think America should do it because it gives Iran more legitimacy.
Saudi Arabia, you know what I'm saying? So I
What
don't trust these niggas.
country out of Chile, Argentina, Mexico, and Colombia is going to have the first tranny president?
Argentina.
Oh, Argentina.
They're white.
Argent.
Wait. He has to be tranny, and he has to be like a member of some obscure tribe.
Bro, the ex-president's son was a tranny.
Guys, do you know the current president of Argentina, right? This is what I'm about to say. The current president of Argentina, he's actually a transvestite. No joke.
No, his son.
Yeah, the son. He's a transvestite.
His son is a tranny, bro. We're already almost there, bro.
Even Moisés Castro, Raúl Castro's daughter is a lesbian, and they're bringing
over.
LGBT Cuba.
Yo, you know what, Noel? I'm just gonna be straight up with you, man. Fuck, man. Colombians, we took a big L on the 8th, and fuck it, man. I really gotta admit it, man. I think Nicaragua might be the answer.
Yeah,
lo
I was just
admito.
about to
Lo
ask
admito.
that. I'm
No
like,
puedo decir
no,
nada.
That's right. Think Ortega would allow this?
That's right. Fuck no. Honestly,
But Noel, he's a communista. He's not a Christian.
he says he's a Christian. He doesn't. I think he still claims to be Catholic. But that's the big issue with the church in Nicaragua. Unfortunately, that the clerics, the most prominent clerics, are very pro LGBT women's rights. And it's the Sandinistas who are like being trad about it and be like, no, we don't want that shit.
He's the real Pope. He's the real South American
It's kind
Pope.
of weird dynamic. There is something to be said about poverty, and there's benefits to poverty. Because if you look at Costa Rica right next to us, right, who's basically a Disneyland for gringos, they just approved gay marriage. So it's yeah, man, there's something to be said about the little country I come from. I mean, I know I'm from there. I obviously have a bias, but and I'm not a Sandinista, but I gotta tip my hat where I got, it's like real recognizes real. These guys seem to be running a pretty fucking good program in their region and they have their hands tied behind their backs. They're fucking they're a sanctioned country, they don't have the access to capital like other countries do.
But you know what it is with them? They
where-
said fuck it. They rather struggle than be part of the Western gang.
Nicaraguan attitude. Nosotros preferimos comer mierda que serle un lambón a un gringo, a un yankee.
But you know what the great thing is that we can actually, if you want, I don't know if you want this, but I think we should help out Nicaragua economically, bro, and other countries who are fighting against this nonsense. And the countries who are already paused, we should also try to help them, but socially, not economically, they're a lot better off. So,
yeah, what is another kind? Peru? What's Peru like? What's Paraguay like? Those are the countries.
No, Peru's a mess right now.
Paraguay is a little worse. Paraguay and Peru are still okay. Bolivia is doing really well as far as I know. Although they're really indigenistas, so that they have a weak spot there.
The tension there, yeah.
Well, you know what I noticed with Peruvians, especially like the natives, they are like some of the most serious people in South America.
That's how the Guatemala.
They're very stoic Indians, bro.
Notice that in Mexico, they recently stopped a gay couple kissing on a beach, I think in the Yucatan.
Yeah, they arrested him.
Dude, in Peru, in the Indian communities, bro, they go to where the prostitutes are, bro, and they start whipping them with sticks, bro. They start whipping the prostitutes, bro.
Hey, bro, it's
Guatemala.
these Indians are the most humble people. I really think if God, if Jesus Christ came to earth tomorrow, bro, he'd be hanging out with the Indians in South America.
Facts.
So, man, can we get a white pill here before we sign off?
Cristo regresará. That's my white pill.
Move to the indigenous villages and become Christian.
But for real, I think this is the white pill. Our discussion in Momento Hispano, this is if we just spread this message far enough and we start influencing people, this is our ground zero. This is our base of operations. And I'd really love it if we did more content in Spanish because we really need to reach los Hispanoparlantes. We need to.
I think you're right. We should strive to do like maybe once a week in Spanish at the very least.
La hora del pocho. Sí, parce.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Estaría bien.
Bueno, muchachos, gracias. Thank you, everybody, for participating. Thank you, everybody in the audience, for joining us today. This was, I guess, like the first kind of weekly update, the Pocho Hour weekly edition. Hope you guys liked it, and we're expecting to do more of this type of format.
Dios bendiga, se cuidan.
Okay, God bless you guys.
Cuídense, gracias, hermanos.
Muchachos.